Konoha, the birth of the ninja clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Nono. Because of Akano's death, although Suzuki was pregnant again, the atmosphere at home was not as warm as before. Everyone just did their own things silently, hoping to forget the sadness. This morning, Yushin was training with Naoki and others, and was suddenly attracted by a sobbing sound. Yushin turned his head, and found a little girl with short yellow hair, squatting on the ground with her head buried, crying secretly. The girl heard the footsteps, and raised her head in panic, and saw Yushin and his group standing not far away looking at her. The little girl was about 7 years old, with a pair of glasses on her round face, and looked very cute. "Nono, why are you here?" Obviously Naoki knew this little girl. Hearing Naoki calling this girl Nono, Yushin couldn't help but look at the little girl curiously. Isn't this the stepmother of Kabuto in the original work, the walking witch, and the ace spy of the route? Why is she here? She looks very sad. Seeing someone coming, Nono stopped crying immediately, took off her glasses, and wiped her tears, then bowed to Yushin and the others. "I'm sorry for disturbing you." Naoki walked over and stared at her in confusion for a while. "Why are you here? What happened? Why are you hiding here crying alone?" "Nothing, it's just. Nono was already embarrassed to be discovered crying here alone, but when she saw Naoki so close to her, her face turned red, and she spoke hesitantly. Yushin looked at the shy look of the little girl, walked forward and pulled Naoki away, squatted down and asked gently, "Little girl, your name is Nono, right? Why are you here alone? It's wartime now, and the village is not safe. Go home quickly. Don't let the adults at home worry." The little girl had stopped crying, but after hearing what Yushin said, tears started to flow again. Yushin was confused at first, and then thought of Nono as an orphan in the original book. Could it be? At this time, Naoki secretly pulled Yushin, and whispered to him, "Nono's parents died in the rain country some time ago." That's right. After listening to Naoki's explanation, Yushin was embarrassed. She had intended to comfort the little girl, but she didn't expect to talk about her sad story. "I'm sorry, I don't know," Yushin said to Nono with an apologetic look on her face. "It's none of your business. It's. Tell your uncle what happened, and see if he can help." After hearing what Yushin said, Naoki also nodded to Nono. "Teacher Yushin is very powerful. Tell him if you have anything, maybe he can help." Naoki couldn't bear to see his classmate sad, so he quickly told Nono. "Really?" The little girl still didn't believe it, staring at Yushin with a pair of watery eyes. "Well, tell uncle if you have any difficulties." Seeing Yushin nodded affirmatively, the little girl didn't care about being sad anymore, and the fingers of her hands were twisted together uneasily. "Well, uncle, I don't want to go to the orphanage, but they came to take my house away today, and I have no place to live. Can Uncle Yushin help me get the house back?" Hearing Nono's words, Yushin's face darkened. This matter was obviously not the intention of the village, and someone took the opportunity to make a profit for themselves. He asked Naoki and others to take Nono back to his home first, and he went straight to the Hokage's office alone. Bang! This time Yushin didn't knock on the door first like before, but pushed the door and broke in. Yushin came to the Hokage's office many times, but this time, as soon as Yushin entered, the Sanda felt a terrifying sense of oppression. Seeing Yushin rushing in with a gloomy face, and feeling his momentum, the Sanda couldn't help but wonder if he was old. Although Yuta could have captured Hanzo alive before, when Yuta's aura was released, the third generation felt that, if he fought with Yuta, he might not survive. But Yuta had always restrained his emotions before. What happened today? He didn't believe that Yuta was here to kill him. "How dare you? Yuta, what do you want to do? This is a Hokage's office, not a place where you can act wild." Before the third generation and Yuta could speak, Danzo, whose legs were shaking with fear at Yuta's aura, reprimanded him. He came here this time to make the third generation agree to let him go to the front line again. If he doesn't go to the front line, how can he have military merits and become Hokage? But because of his previous actions, Konoha fell into today's dilemma, and the third generation said nothing. He was arguing with his old classmate, and was frightened by Yuta, who suddenly broke in. Although he was dissatisfied with Sarutobi becoming Hokage, and often didn't give a third generation face, but he still valued the face of the Hokage, because he firmly believed that he would be able to ascend to that position in the future. Yushin ignored Danzo shouting. Since he attacked his family, Yushin had decided to get rid of this guy who had always been ill intention towards him, but he had never found the opportunity before. Seeing Yushin's gloomy face and silence, the third generation didn't care to continue arguing with Danzo. He stabilized his mentality and said to Yushin seriously, "You'd better give an explanation, otherwise no one will take me, the Hokage, seriously in the future." Yushin also calmed down at this time, knowing that he had lost his temper, but he didn't intend to give him this time, because if the matter of Nono was not handled properly, it would shake the foundation of the entire Konoha rule. Yushin glanced at Danzo and wondered in his heart whether he did it because Nono would be under his command in the future. It's better to throw the pot on his head first. Anyway, it's not against the law to try. Yushin took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and began to tell the third generation what happened to Nono today. After listening to Yushin's story, the face of the third generation became worse and worse. Bang! Before the third generation could speak, Danzo got angry first. "This is outrageous. What do they want to do? They are digging up the roots of Konoha." Looking at the angry Danzo, Yushin couldn't help but mutter in his heart, "Did I guess wrong? This really wasn't done by him?" In fact, Yushin was also influenced by the image of Danzo in the later period of the original work. Whenever something bad happened, he would think of the Pot King. At this time, Danzo still had some pattern. Unlike later when he was old, he would not be able to become the position of Hokage in his lifetime if he didn't think of a way, so he would do whatever it took to eliminate dissidents. The current Danzo firmly believed that the position of the third generation Hokage would not last too long, and he would definitely replace it. At this time, hearing that someone was digging up the roots of Konoha, wasn't that digging up his own roots? How could he bear it? The third generation glanced at his old friend with disdain. He naturally understood his calculations, but this was not the time to worry about these things. First of all, Nono's matter must be resolved first, otherwise it would shake the morale of the troops on the front line. No one wants to fight for the village on the front line, and then their children will be homeless after their death. Danzo, you go and handle this matter. You must find out the details, and try to control the impact of this matter. No one should be tolerated if it is involved. The handling of this matter still depends on Konoha's Pot King, because this matter has touched the reverse scale of the third generation and other high level officials, so Comrade Pot King has to take ruthless action at this time. Don't worry, none of these termites can escape. Should we also deal with that little girl to avoid any rumors? You can try. Yuta looked at Danzo coldly with a blank expression. The Sandai waved his hand and said, "Don't meddle in other people's business. After all, we owed that girl. I did this for Konoha. You are too soft-hearted. You will regret it." Seeing that Yuta was determined to protect the girl, Danzo could only say something to the Sandai unwillingly, and turned around to deal with today's matter. Chapter 52, Kai's Dilemma. Regardless of how Danzo dealt with those people, Yushin returned home and saw Nono, like a big sister, helping Kiko take care of the two twins who had already started to walk. Suddenly, Shingo walked up to his sister like a dog and slapped Kyoko's face hard. Pa. Kyoko didn't indulge him, and directly raised her chubby little hand and slapped him on the face. Shingo was stunned for a moment, and after a while, his little face wrinkled, and he opened his mouth and howled. Wow. Seeing the poor crying Shingo, Nono panicked and ran into the house to call Kyoko, and didn't even see Yushin who had just entered the door. Aunt Kyoko, look, Shingo was beaten by Kyoko again. After listening to Nono's story, Kyoko sighed helplessly. I don't know what's wrong with my little son. He always likes to tease his sister in a mean way. Every time Kyoko doesn't indulge him, she just takes action. Kyoko followed Nono out and saw Yushin holding Kyoko in her arms. In Yuta's arms, and Z complained to Masuke's father, and Yuta agreed with her with a smile, turning his head from time to scold Shingo, who was already dumbfounded. Shingo, did I send it to my sister? What did the third generation say about Nono? Kiko came over and rubbed Shingo's beaten face and looked up at Yuta and asked. She also heard from Naoki and the others about Nono's experience, and she was also angry at the time. This matter has touched everyone's bottom line, and those who heard it can't keep calm. The third generation asked Danzo to handle this matter. Don't worry, there will be a result soon. Yuta was afraid that she would get angry, so he hurried to comfort her. Who did the third generation ask to handle this matter? When Kiko heard that the third generation asked Danzo to handle Nono's matter, her face was full of disbelief. Letting Danzo handle this matter is thorough, and no one can escape punishment. But Danzo always does things to root out the problem, and she is afraid that Danzo will take action against Nono. Don't worry. He doesn't dare. Why don't we adopt Nono in the future? This will not only protect her safety and let her grow up healthily, we can also help take care of several children at home. Nono is still very sensible. Yushin understood his worries, so he took the opportunity to suggest that Nono be adopted. After all, having an older daughter at home can make people worry less. I have the same idea. Nono is too pitiful. Just like that, after consulting Nono, Nono formally worshipped Yushin and Kiko as her adoptive parents, and she also officially moved into the Yushin family. As for her original house, the day after the incident, after Danzo killed a group of people, her house was returned. A lot of extra condolence money was also given. It was just that Nono wanted to put her house in the name of Yushin at that time, but Kiko persuaded her not to. Now Nono is not only her and Yushin's daughter, but also her disciple. After Nono came to Yushin's house, she not only helped take care of the children, but also trained with Yushin with Naoki and others. Kiko soon discovered her talent and very good chakra control. Miruta is not much different. Then he said that he wanted to take her as his disciple. Of course, Nono had no objection and agreed on the spot. With himself and Yuta as his backers, those who wanted to take advantage of her would have to think twice, so there was no need to do anything unnecessary. A remote village in the land of rain. When Akano woke up again in a daze, he reluctantly opened his eyes and found that there was a dark area above his head, so he turned his head to the other side, and more light finally passed through his pupils. He found himself lying in a hut. What he didn't expect was that the room was very clean, completely different from the hut he remembered. Akano felt that in addition to the pain all over his body, the most terrible thing was that he felt very thirsty. His chest felt like it was on fire, and his throat was very uncomfortable. He just wanted to get up and find some water to drink, but the pain and weakness all over his body made it difficult for him to even lift a finger. Creak. The door was pushed open from the outside, and a girl with red hair came in. Akano turned his head with great effort to look at the door. When he found someone coming into the room, he murmured in a hoarse voice, "Water. Give me water. Ah, you're awake." As soon as he entered the door, the girl noticed the look Akano was looking at him, screamed, and found that Akano was whispering something. She hurried to Akano's side, lowered her body, put her ear to Akano's mouth and listened carefully. "So you want to drink water?" I was scared to death. After hearing Akano's words clearly, the girl patted her chest and hurried to pour Akano a cup of hot water. Akano leaned in the girl's arms, watching the girl carefully cool the water, and then gently fed him. At this time, he felt even more thirsty, and a blush appeared on his bloodless face. This might be love. Akano couldn't help but think in his heart. In this way, Akano got better day by day under the care of the girl. Even Akano himself was surprised. He thought he was dead, but he didn't expect to survive. "You mean I was in the woods nearby when you found me?" "Yeah. I went out to chop wood and found you fainted under a tree. You were covered in blood and there was a sticky white liquid on your body. I thought you were dead. Fortunately, I checked carefully and found that you were still breathing, so I carried you back." Looking at Kanako's affirmative expression, Akano scratched his head. Strange. Who saved me at that time? Hearing Akano muttering in a low voice, Kanako put her hands on her hips. "I'm your savior after all. Why do you look so unconvinced?" She looked like she would not give up until Akano gave her a reasonable explanation. However, Akano looked at her bulging cheeks and thought they were very beautiful, so he couldn't help pinching them. "Ah. You are a disgusting person, don't you know? How can you touch someone's face casually? Kanako's face was suddenly pinched by Akano, and it turned red in an instant, but she still glared at Akano with an angry face. Okay, I'm wrong. Isn't that okay? Akano looked at Kanako's angry expression and raised his hands to admit defeat. Humph. That's more like it. Akano. Did you also escape from the land of whirlpools? This one sentence stunned Akano. How could he not know that he was still from the land of whirlpools? However, thinking of his red hair and much more chakra than ordinary ninjas, he was not sure whether he was a member of the Uzumaki clan. Could it be that his ancestors really had Uzumaki blood? Akano couldn't help but think. Seeing Akano's silence, Kanako thought he was also worried about the fate of the land of whirlpools, and sighed deeply. Why don't we move to Konoha? There are also many Uzumaki clan members there, and it is much safer than the land of rain. Akano looked at Kanako with a sad face, and couldn't help but suggest. No. When I came out, my father told me not to go to Konoha, saying that I should leave more ways for the Uzumaki clan, and Konoha is not trustworthy. Kanako shook her head after hearing Akano's suggestion. That night, Akano couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Thinking of Kanako's reaction when he asked her to move to Konoha, he knew that Kanako would not move to Konoha. So what should he do? He found that he had fallen in love with this strong and lovely girl. It was drizzling in the night of the rain country, which gradually washed away the troubles in Akano's heart. Accompanied by the sound of the pattering rain, Akano fell into a deep sleep unknowingly. One more chapter for every 4,000 words. Today is the first time that Heiozi has been recommended. I hope everyone will support it. This book will not be abandoned, and everyone can read it with confidence. At the same time, I also hope that book friends who have tickets will support it. There is no need to reward. I just want to make some money for cigarettes. Please. Chapter 53 Akano's Choice. The next day, Akano got up very early. When he had just finished washing up, he found that the door was actually opened. Akano, eat as soon as you get up. After that, a large pile of food was placed in front of Akano. Seeing that Kanako had prepared breakfast for him so carefully, Akano nodded with a smile and began to eat the food in front of him. Kanako carefully served tea and water to Akano, just like a couple who had lived together for many years. Akano hoped that Kanako could return to Konoha with him, but he knew that this was impossible. Although Kanako looked careless, as if she didn't care about anything, after a period of getting along, Akano knew that her ideas were very correct, and she would not change her decision easily. After Akano finished eating, Kanako asked Akano if he was full. I'm full. Thank you for your hospitality. After that, Akano took out a large stack of banknotes from his body. Take this money first. You haven't gone out to make money during this period, and you have to buy medicine for my injuries. You can use this money, otherwise I won't feel at ease living here. Without waiting for Kanako to refuse, Akano stuffed the money into her hand, and then went to wash the dishes. Reluctantly taking Akano's money, Kanako looked at Akano's back, and a happy smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Kanako also knew that Akano had his own thoughts, but she promised her father that she would not go to Konoha, so how to get along with each other in the future depends on Akano's choice. If he insists on going to Konoha, then it is better for everyone to keep a certain distance in the future, so as not to cause unnecessary troubles to everyone. Kanako saw Akano enter the kitchen and shook her head. What was she thinking? She still had to buy medicine for Akano. The knife of the sand ninja was cut very deep. When Akano saw Kanako changing his medicine for the first time, he could see his bones. Although Akano can get out of bed now, he cannot do strenuous exercise yet. Even though his recovery ability is better than that of ordinary people, it is estimated that it will take 2 months to fully recover. However, Akano is not most concerned about his injuries now. He is thinking about what he should do in the future. Leaving Kanako here alone, not to mention the safety issue, he is reluctant to leave Kanako. Just as Akano was lost in thought, suddenly a loud noise came from not far away, and Kanako's crying could be heard faintly. When Akano arrived, he found that Kanako was desperately holding the money he had just given her, and several thugs were dragging her arms, trying to snatch the money away. Stop! Akano shouted. Hey! Here comes a pretty boy. What, do you want to be a hero and save the beauty? The accomplice of the thug looked at Akano jokingly. Due to the heavy blood loss before, Akano's face was also very pale at this time, and he really looked like a pretty boy. Seeing that the thug who dragged Kanako was indifferent and continued to pull her arm, Akano stepped forward and grabbed his hair and threw the thug aside. Seeing the panic-stricken Kanako, Akano hurriedly helped her up with heartache and asked her if she was okay. Kanako shook her head and shouted at him anxiously, "Go back quickly, you are still injured. You can't fight with them. Don't worry, they are just a few little bastards." Akano ignored the thugs and carefully checked Kanako's body. After finding that there was nothing serious, he turned around and looked at the thugs coldly. "Apologize." "Humph, what a big tone." A thug came out and laughed at Akano. At the same time, 6 or 7 big men came out behind him with a sneer on their faces. The thug who was thrown out just now also stood up and stared at Akano fiercely, obviously not taking Akano, a pretty boy, seriously. Akano spread his hands helplessly. Just when the thugs thought that Akano was going to give in, Akano moved. In an instant, Akano came to the leading thug and hit the man in the chest with just one punch. Even though Akano was injured, his punch was not so comfortable. He almost punched through the man's ribs and injured his heart. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and it seemed that the man was dead. Seeing that a pretty boy suddenly killed a person, the thugs who had never seen a dead person were already scared. Go to Konoha quickly, they can't control you there." Kanako was also very anxious. After seeing Akano really kill someone, she urged him to run quickly. But Akano ignored Kanako's persuasion. Since he had taken action, he would not give them a chance to let them spread the news of his murder. Although he was not afraid, he did not want to leave trouble for Kanako. He instantly unfolded his speed. In their eyes, Akano's speed was simply horrifying. How could a human being reach such a speed? Those people couldn't help but think. At the same time, they knew that they were afraid of hitting a wall this time. They didn't even give them a chance to beg for mercy. Since they dared to covet other people's finances, they should know how to write the word death. Akano is no longer a soft-hearted person. Killing one person is killing, and killing everyone is killing. Although ninjas cannot kill the poor at will in this era, it does not mean that you will remain indifferent when others bully you. Akano instantly dealt with several hooligans. He looked back at Kanako, who was worried, and changed back to his silly look. I decided not to go to Konoha. Hearing Akano's decision, Kanako forgot that he had killed several people just now. She punched him with tears on her face and suddenly threw herself into his arms. "You bastard. Why are you here now? I was so scared just now." At this time, Akano was no longer a wounded person who needed her care. When Akano decided to stay here, she knew that this man would protect her for the rest of her life. So at this time, Kanako showed her truest side to Akano. Looking at Kanako, who was terrified in his arms, Akano knew that he could not leave this woman in his life. But now we need to clean up the scene. When these thugs robbed Kanako just now, the nearby villagers were afraid of getting into trouble and disappeared long ago. But this also allows Akano to clean up the murder scene. After all, he and Kanako will live here in the future, and he doesn't want Kanako to bear the name of murderous demon wife. After comforting Kanako in his arms, Akano made seals with both hands and cleaned the scene with her earth escape ninjutsu. "You are still a ninja?" Kanako was surprised. She didn't know Akano was still a ninja. When she found him, she thought Akano was hurt by the pursuing enemy, and Akano was just a lucky civilian. "You know, there are thousands of people in the country of whirlpools, but only a few can become ninjas. Of course. You don't have to worry about being bullied by others in the future. I promise." "Yeah." Kanako held Akano's waist and buried her head in his chest. At this moment, her heart has found a home again. Continue to ask for votes and support. Please, brothers and sisters. Chapter 54 Mutation. Let's not talk about Akano's current situation. Konoha, the Yuta family, has reached the time of enlightenment once a year. Kyoko, who is already more than 3 months pregnant, has a bigger belly than when she was pregnant with triplets. Yuta helped her sit down. Miruta and the others are now more than 4 years old, and they are much more sensible now. They sit quietly behind Yuta, waiting for Yuta to start. There is one more person participating today, Yuta and Kyoko's adopted daughter Nono. Yuta did not intend to hide this girl from her, because from the original work, Nono still attaches great importance to feelings, otherwise she would not be willing to serve the route again for the children and the orphanage in the original work. What do you plan to realize today? Yuta looked at his 4 family members and Nono, who was curious on the side, and asked patiently. I still plan to integrate the second generation's water escape ninjutsu sent by Mito-sama first, but according to past experience, one time may not be enough. Kyoko thought about it carefully and decided to increase her strength first. Since she was attacked by the root at home last time, she also realized the importance of strength. I plan to continue to improve my chakra control so that I won't be greedy if I'm a little bit behind Jiro and Yuto. You know how to be content. Not bad. You've made great progress. Yuta was very pleased to see that Maruta had calmed down a lot. Then he turned to look at Jiro and Yuto, wanting to hear their plans. I just want to improve my swordsmanship a little bit. It's too early for me to reach the bloodline limit, and my chakra is not enough to perform magnetic ninjutsu. Jiro seemed to have a plan in mind. I plan to improve my chakra control like my big brother, so that it will be easier when I learn medical ninjutsu. Yuta was still so shy, but anyone who looked down on him would suffer a great loss, because his black belly was likely to be better than his master. Oh, me. I'll listen to the teacher. Nono saw that everyone was looking at her, and she didn't know what to choose. After all, it was the first time she encountered such a thing, and she didn't know what to do. So she decided to listen to Kiko. After all, Kiko was her teacher and stepmother, so she would not harm her. Haha, Nono. Just like Maruta and Yuto, you should improve your chakra control first. This way, it will be easier to learn medical ninjutsu. As for strength, you are still young now, and there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Kiko rubbed Nono's head and gave her gentle advice. During this period, it was thanks to Nono's presence at home. Otherwise, with 2 nannies, it would be difficult to keep up with the 2 twins who can run around at home. Yushin himself planned to try to see if his idea of electromagnetic escape would work. After all, he did not expect to succeed with just one epiphany. After all, according to the past, the more powerful the ability, the more difficult it is to comprehend it, such as the sealing technique. Yushin also relied on 3 epiphany opportunities to reach today's level. Because he did not know how much noise he would make later, Yushin set up a sealing barrier at home this time to avoid being discovered. As time went by, Nono was the first to wake up from his epiphany. She was pleasantly surprised to find that her control over chakra was no longer the same as before, and she was more adept at using her chakra. Looking at the Yuta family who were still in enlightenment, she controlled her excitement and quietly returned to her room. Until then, she felt that she had really integrated into the Yuta family. Soon after, Maruta and the other 3 also exited the state of enlightenment. Having had experience once before, they did not disturb Yuta and Kiko, and quietly left here. When it was almost dawn, Kiko, who was swimming freely in the ocean of water escape ninjutsu, was suddenly awakened by a sizzling sound, and was forced out of the state of enlightenment. This feeling of being suddenly interrupted, coupled with her bad temper during pregnancy, she initially thought that Maruta and the other 3 were messing around. She opened her eyes and planned to teach them a lesson this time. But when she saw the situation of Yuta opposite her, she immediately covered her mouth and stared at Yuta with wide eyes in disbelief. At this time, Yuta's body was emitting dense arcs from the inside out. Since Zizi was staying near Yushin at this time, she felt like she was being split into cells. Although she was very worried about Yushin's safety at this time, the tearing feeling forced her to leave the room. At this moment, Yushin felt as if he was swimming in the world of electrons, watching various protons collide with each other, and a stream of tiny currents were generated. Under the action of these currents, these protons attracted each other or repelled each other. A delicate balance was created between them. Just as he was about to continue to explore all this, a heart-wrenching pain spread throughout his body. He quickly pulled his mind away from the scene in front of him, and regained control of his body. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was sitting in a ruin, and his whole body was covered with bloodstains. He just wanted to get up, but found that he had no strength. So he looked around. He found that it was already dawn, and Zizzy and several children were looking at him nervously at the edge of the ruins. In order not to worry them, Yushin pulled his mouth and forced a smile, and then his eyes went black, and he knew nothing. A ray of dawn broke through the darkness, and the gloomy sky became warmer and warmer, with layers of warm yellow spreading out, illuminating the east. At this time, the whole Konoha village was bright, and more people walked onto the streets. The originally very quiet village suddenly became lively, as if it happened in an instant, and the sudden burst of vitality was surprising. The sun shone through the glass window, and shone into a ward in Konoha hospital. On the bed, a person wrapped in bandages lay quietly on it, with his eyes closed. If it weren't for the infusion bottle hanging on his right hand, everyone would have thought it was a corpse. At that time, Yuta's condition scared Kiko. She didn't care about her pregnancy at that time. She picked up Yuta and ran to the hospital, and then gave Yuta emergency treatment. After confirming that Yuta was out of danger, she also felt dizzy and stayed with Yuta in the hospital. If Mito hadn't arranged for someone to come and take care of him after hearing the news, Yuta's family would have been in chaos. Fortunately, Kiko woke up that day. She fainted because she was too nervous and suddenly relaxed, plus she was pregnant. It's fine when she wakes up. Although Yushin is out of danger and has recovered well from her injuries, she has been in a coma for a week. During this period, Sandai also sent someone to visit Yushin. Seeing that Yushin was not in danger, he comforted Zizzy and left immediately. Seeking support, I'm not in a good mood tonight and didn't check carefully. I hope you can point it out and correct it tomorrow. Chapter 55 Metamorphosis. Squeak. The door of the ward was opened from the outside. Zizzy was sitting beside Yushin's bed. When she heard the noise, she looked up and found that it was Nono. The little girl was carrying a lunchbox and glanced at the master with red eyes. Master, you should eat something too. Otherwise, if you fall down again, who will take care of daddy? Nono put the lunchbox on the table beside the bed and opened it and showed it to Zizzy as if showing off. These are all made by me. Master, come and try them. How about it? Zizzy looked at the disciple who comforted her and forced a smile on her face. She picked up a plate of sushi in the box and reluctantly took a bite, nodded and praised. Not bad. Your skills have improved recently. Zizzy didn't want to worry others and was also worried about the baby in her belly, so she insisted on eating up the breakfast that Nono brought. But what they didn't know was that although Yushin was asleep at this time, earth-shaking changes had taken place in her body. The bead he brought with him when he traveled through time and space has been shaking violently since Yushin fell into a coma, emitting bright light. The light flows along Yushin's meridians and merges into his body. After a week of hard work by the bead to repair Yushin's originally broken body, the internal trauma has been repaired at this moment, and then the bead has returned to silence and continues to emit a dim light. However, Yushin's body has been greatly strengthened after this break, and coupled with the mysterious effect of the bead, it is no longer the same. Because electromagnetic force is one of the foremost basic forces in the universe, ordinary bodies cannot withstand it at all. Although Yushin's body has reached the limit of ordinary people after long-term improvement by the bead, it still cannot withstand the load of electromagnetic force. This is also the reason for his serious injury this time, but after this great break, he has also turned a disaster into a blessing. Although he still cannot withstand the electromagnetic force at the microscopic level, he can barely withstand the electromagnetic force at the macroscopic level, such as electromagnetic shock, electromagnetic impact, electromagnetic ejection, etc. Nono saw that Zizzy had eaten up the food she brought, and a big smile appeared on her face. These days, Zizzy has lost her appetite and made everyone worried. When Nono was cleaning up the dishes, she couldn't help but glance at Yushin on the bed. After all, he was the pillar of the family. Suddenly, she saw Yushin's fingers move slightly. Master, did Dad's hand move just now? Nono looked at Zizzy in surprise and asked in surprise. Yes, your father's hand just moved. He is about to wake up. Zizzy also saw Yushin's fingers move. She covered her mouth with both hands, and her face was full of tears of joy. She was under too much pressure these days. She had been with Yushin since she was a child, went to school together, graduated together, and was lucky to be assigned to the same team. Then they came together naturally, and they also had 5 children, and there will be 4 more soon. She really didn't know what would happen to her and the children if Yushin had any accident. Water. Maybe it was a habit. After waking up from a serious injury, after Yushin regained consciousness, he felt as if his throat was on fire, and he subconsciously murmured softly. Zizi saw that Yushin had started talking, and was sure that he was awake. After listening carefully for a while and understanding what he meant, she quickly picked up the kettle and poured a cup of hot water for Yushin. After blowing it cool, she slowly fed him the water. After drinking all the water in the cup, Yushin exhaled lightly and opened his eyes with difficulty. After seeing Zizi's haggard face, she smiled gently. I made you worry. Although Zizi had tears in her eyes, she smiled and shook her head, saying softly, I'm glad you're okay. Yeah. Yushin nodded and found that, although he didn't hurt much, he felt very tired, and his eyelids trembled a few times. Zizi saw that he had difficulty opening his eyes, so she stepped forward and tightened the quilt for him. Rest if you are tired, don't worry, everything is fine at home. That's good, I'll sleep for a while. Yushin fell asleep after saying that. Seeing her husband sleeping peacefully, Zizi felt very at ease. As long as Yushin woke up, she and the children would have someone to rely on. Seeing that his father had fallen asleep again, Nono walked quietly to Kiko. Master, you stay here and watch. I'll go tell everyone that Dad has woken up. Say it again. Has he finally woken up? In the Hokage's office, the Sandaime heard the report from his subordinates and stood up suddenly, almost knocking over the desk in front of him, and the documents on the desk were scattered all over the floor. Awake. That child. In the Senju clan's territory, Mito heard the news and said to himself, not knowing whether he was talking to himself or asking a question. Hiss. Yuta-kun, you finally woke up. It would be too boring to continue sleeping. On the front line of the rain country, Orochimaru, who was flipping through the battle report, stuck out his tongue and laughed. I knew he wouldn't die so easily. Tsunade, who was also at the front line of the rain country, threw away the information and took out the dice that she hadn't taken out for nearly a week. She looked at Jiraiya, who was very happy that Yushin had woken up with expectation. Play a few rounds with me. Jiraiya. Oh. Forget it. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade with expectation, hesitated for a moment, and reluctantly refused. When betting with others, he was happy if he won, but he was scared when betting with Tsunade, afraid that she would beat people if she lost. Besides, she wouldn't have any sense of accomplishment if she won, and the money wouldn't go to him in the end. Dad is awake. That's great. Miruta and the other 3 have been much more sensible recently, and they haven't been running around. Except for training, they stay at home with their younger brothers and sisters. Now, hearing the news that their father has woken up, they are happy to play around the training ground. When Yushin woke up again, it was already night. The first thing he did after waking up was to ask Zizi to remove all the bandages on his body. Yushin, who had never been seriously injured, was not used to being wrapped in bandages. In the end, it was Kiko who persuaded Yushin to keep it a secret. If others discovered the abnormality of Yushin, they would be curious. But when she saw that Yushin's injuries had healed, she removed the bandage on his head. At this time, Yushin also knew that he was too reckless this time. He actually planned to master the power of gods with a mortal body. After carefully moving his body, he found that his body was very different, but he couldn't tell the specific situation. Seeing Kiko's hesitant expression, she knew what she wanted to ask. What happened at that time? Why did she get injured suddenly? And what was the tearing feeling she felt at that time? Yushin did not hide anything from Kiko and told her in detail about his situation and speculation at that time. After listening to Yushin's explanation, Kiko was scared and wanted to hit him hard a few times to make him remember. But she was worried about his injuries, so she could only say with red eyes, next time you do something, can you please consider me and the children first? You are lucky this time. If something happens to you, have you thought about how I and the children would survive? Yes, I was wrong this time, and I won't do it again. Yushin quickly admitted his mistake. Chapter 56. Spiritual beast evolution. The next day, Yushin was discharged from the hospital and went home. A week later, the destroyed house had been rebuilt. Because he was recovering from his injuries, the war outside had little impact on Yushin. In fact, whether he was injured or not, the impact of the ninja war was not big for him. The high-ranking officials of the third generation would not send him to the front line unless it was absolutely necessary. In order to suppress his reputation, the third generation had shamelessly taken the 3-character classic for himself, not to mention letting him make military exploits in the war. After all, military exploits are real, and no one will do anything about it, otherwise who will work for Konoha in the future? So the third generation came to visit Yushin on the day he was discharged from the hospital, and then went to worry about the war, as if he had forgotten the famous Konoha silver fox. Yushin was also happy about this, because Zizi was pregnant with quadruplets this time, and recently she had not been able to take good care of him, so Yushin just happened to stay at home to accompany her more. Yushin was also a little depressed. Does the bead he brought with him when he traveled through time have the ability to enhance fertility? Twins are rare for others, but their family does start with 2, and there is no upper limit. I thought the first triplets were a pleasant surprise, but I didn't expect that there would be 2 more triplets in a row. This time, it was even more outrageous. 4. So recently, more people came to Yuta's house, nominally to visit him who was injured. After entering the door, he put down the gifts and went to chat with Kiko. The envy in his tone could not be concealed. Of course, these were all women, so it was inconvenient for men to ask Kiko all kinds of questions. But all the men who came to visit him didn't care much about his injuries. Instead, they asked him a lot of questions about fertility, making Yuta almost become a fertility guanyin. So Yuta rejected most of the guests on the grounds that Kiko needed to rest. Yuta himself returned to his previous daily routine of taking care of the children, and trained the 5 of them at home. Why 5? Because there was another Minato. Since he found that Ganta and the other 3 didn't look for him to play for nearly a year, but became much stronger after training with their father, so becoming a ninja became his wish. So Minato took the opportunity to visit Yuta with his parents and told Yuta his request, asking Yuta to agree to let him follow Miruta and others to accept his guidance. At that time, seeing Minato's face flushed red because he felt embarrassed, Yuta almost couldn't help laughing. Who would have thought that Minato, who would appear confident and calm in everything in the future, would look like this when he was a child? He agreed to Minato's request at that time, and accepted Minato as his apprentice after the couple Longjian thanked him profusely. As for Jiraiya, let him concentrate on his journey to find talents. On this day, Yuta was walking in the yard with Kiko, and Miruta ran over. Dad, look at what happened to Kuretaro, a 2nd generation earthworm he chose himself. It suddenly can talk. Regardless of whether Yuta was willing or not, Miruta came up and wanted to take him to the training ground to let him see what was going on. Yuta and Kiko looked at each other, and they were also very confused about this. Yuta doesn't need a summoned beast now, so apart from opening the beads to continuously transform the earthworms every day, he doesn't pay much attention to them. After all, compared to Yuta, their strength is still a little behind. After following Miruta to the training ground, I found that Naoki Minato and others were surrounding a 5-meter long earthworm and chatting with it excitedly, and that earthworm was the Kuretaro mentioned by Miruta. The earthworms in your place can talk. It's so strange. Naoki was puzzled. How can earthworms talk? What's so strange about summoned beasts talking? A neutral voice came from the earthworm's mouth. Kuretaro, you can really talk. Congratulations. Yuta walked up to observe Kuretaro carefully, patted its body and said, Master Yuta, Master Kiko. Kuretaro bowed his head and greeted respectfully. Well, you're welcome. Is it just you who can talk, or can all talk? Yuta nodded and looked at it curiously. Kuretaro was a little scared by Yuta's stare, thinking that it had made some mistakes. Noticing Kuretaro's nervousness, Kiko stepped forward and pulled Yuta away, smiling gently. Don't be nervous, we are just curious. Kuretaro was relieved to hear Kiko's words. After all, Yuta was the master of their tribe, and he was still a little nervous in front of him. To reply to the adults, the earthworms, that is, the nearly 40-meter long earthworm at the beginning, now the leader of the earthworm tribe, can speak, and we can help you." Yuta heard what it said, and nodded without comment. "It's good to have this intention. You can stay there in peace in the future. Sooner or later, I will need you. Don't be impatient." "Yes." Kuretaro lowered his head in frustration, but he didn't dare to refute Yuta. "Dad, you haven't told me why Kuretaro can talk all of a sudden?" Miruta couldn't help himself and pulled Yuta's clothes. After all, Kuretaro would be his partner in the future, so of course he was worried about him. Yuta held his head with his hand. "Don't worry, it's a good thing. Kuretaro and the others can talk, which means they have evolved and can help you better in the future. Don't bully them." "Yeah." Miruta nodded excitedly when he heard that Kuretaro was fine and even became more powerful. Minato looked at Miruta with envy. He also wanted to have his own summoning beast, but he was too embarrassed to ask. Yuta noticed Minato's abnormality and went over to pat him on the shoulder. "Don't envy them. I will help you find a powerful summoning beast as a partner in the future. It's a pity that Kuretaro and the others are not suitable for you." Yuta set his sights on Jiraiya again. He planned to let Jiraiya be with his team leader after Minato graduated, and then he could let Minato sign a summoning contract with the Toad clan. After training, Minato found that he only had wind chakra, which was not compatible with the Earthworm clan's water and soil attributes, so it was a bit inappropriate. Yushin did not let him sign a contract with the Earthworm clan. Rope Tree couldn't wait to ask, "What about me? Master, you can't be partial." After hearing his words, Yushin thought about it and realized that the Earthworm clan was really suitable for Rope Tree. Although Rope Tree's water and soil attributes overlapped with the Earthworm clan, the Earthworm clan's escape ability could greatly increase his chances of surviving in battle in the future. After all, as the only male direct descendant of the Senju clan, as long as he could grow up smoothly, his strength would not be too bad. Minato was different. Yushin knew that he had space attributes. In the future, as long as he was given the Flying Thunder God, he would not have to worry about his survival. What he had to solve was how to increase his range of ninjutsu. The fire escape of the Toad clan would be very suitable for his wind escape. Continue to ask for votes, follow up reading, and collection. Thank you, brothers and sisters, beautiful women and handsome men. Chapter 57. The situation worsens. It was the 31st year of Konoha, just after the Chinese New Year. Yuda was accompanying Kiko, who was about to give birth. At this time, she had difficulty walking and needed someone to support her. One day, he was helping Kiko take a walk, and the Enbu suddenly came to his house. "Yuda, the Hokage asked you to go to the office immediately, without delay." After a formal announcement, the Enbu disappeared. "Why would the third Hokage look for you? Did something happen? Go and see." Although Kiko was a little confused, she was afraid that something important was really going on, so she hurriedly urged, "No matter how urgent it is, I have to help you go back first, otherwise I will be worried." Yuda took his time and helped Kiko back to the room. Bang, 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 "Come in." At this time, the third Hokage's voice was no longer gentle. The war situation made him anxious, and his voice was hoarse. Squeak. Yuda pushed the door open and saw that there were many people inside, not only Denzo, but also the patriarchs of the major ninja clans, including the Uchiha clan leader. Looking at their solemn expressions, has something changed in the war? Sandai saw Yushin coming in, waved to him, and then looked around at the clan leaders present. "I think everyone knows this person. He is the captain of the support team this time. I think everyone should be relieved with Yushin leading the team, right?" Yushin stood in front of Sandai and was confused when he heard his words. What did he mean by the captain of the support team? He didn't want to go to the battlefield now. Zizi was about to give birth, and he had to stay at home with her. Before he could refuse, Sandai took the pipe from his mouth, knocked it on the desk, then turned to look at him, and said with a grim expression, "I know I shouldn't send you now, but you have to go. This is a battle report that was just sent today. Take a look." Then he picked up a document on the table and handed it over. Yuda looked over, but the third Hokage ignored him and continued to talk to the clan leaders. "Now that we have chosen a leader, the next step is to form reinforcement. I'm sure everyone knows how dangerous the situation in Konoha is right now. Don't hide your thoughts. How many people can you send out?" The clan leaders glanced at Yuda, who was reading the battle report, and then the clan leader of the Nara clan spoke first. Everyone knows the situation of our Ino, Shika, and Chao clans. We have sent quite a few people to the front lines before, and only some old, weak, and sick people are left in the clan. But this time we will be led by John and Tano, and it happens that several injured members of our 3 clans have recovered and can be sent out, but there are only 7. The Ino, Shika, and Chao clans were die-hard fans of the 3rd Hokage, and they were the first to stand up and express their opinions. You are still hesitating at this time. If Konoha is gone, those clansmen you left behind will be slaughtered. Danzo stood up and looked around at the clan leaders coldly. Except for those who really cannot be moved, and those who are not ninjas, all other people in our Shimura clan will be sent out this time. How cruel. After hearing Danzo's words, the clan leaders looked at him differently. If someone can be so cruel to his own clan members, then you can imagine how he will treat others. Looking at the fearful eyes of these clan leaders, Danzo didn't care at all. Instead, he stared at the clan leader of the Uchiha clan and said slowly, in this war, we have all sent a large number of clan members to the front line, and even sent the children who just graduated. However, some ninja clans have not sent a single clan member to the front line yet. They have been hiding in the village and enjoying the peace that everyone has exchanged for their lives. Isn't it time for these ninja clans to do something? At this time, Yuta had finished reading the battle report and understood why the 3rd generation asked him to go to the front line. I don't know what's wrong with the Raikage and that Suchikage. Just after the Chinese New Year, the 2 families stopped fighting. Instead, that Suchikage and the Raikage went to the front line of the war with Konoha and beat the 2 advisors so hard that they had to retreat to the Land of Fire with their troops and build a defense line at the border. But because no one could stop the Raikage and that Suchikage, the 2 lines of defense were also in danger. They sent letters to the village for help, saying that if the village didn't send people over, they really couldn't hold on. The 3rd generation didn't plan to send Yuda at first. He wanted to send 2 of his 3 disciples to accumulate some military merits for them. But then they received a war report. The Sand Ninja sent Chiyo and his son and daughter-in-law to the border of the Land of Fire and fought fiercely with Atakesakumo at the border between the 2 countries, while the 3rd generation Kazakage went to the Land of Rain in person, joined Abizo, and dragged Konoha here with the Rain Ninja. There was no way. This time they could only send Yuda. Not only Yuda had to go, but he had to go too. Otherwise one of the directions would definitely be broken by the enemy. But now the ninja troops of Konoha are already stretched to the limit. Apart from some civilian mission ninjas, they can no longer produce any elite ninjas. So this time, they also called Uchiha to tell them that it is time to send people. Hearing Danzo's words, the head of the Uchiha clan blushed. Kid, you are too presumptuous. We Uchiha are one of the founders of Konoha after all. How can we not be willing to contribute to the village? There are some things that we don't want to say openly, but do you really think we are easy to bully? Okay. Now we are discussing the issue of sending troops. Don't get off track. Uchiha clan leader, this time it depends on your clan. Other clans really can't send many people. The 3rd generation interrupted the quarrel between Danzo and the head of the Uchiha clan, and then looked at him expectantly. Yuta couldn't help, but secretly exclaimed beautiful. This double act, the big stick hit, is really powerful. And they didn't even bring out the carrot, forcing the Uchiha clan to ride the tiger and be in a dilemma. In addition to the necessary guard force, our clan can also provide 700 ninjas. These ninjas can be used, but I hope they can be sent to Yushin's place. Impossible. If they all go to Yushin, what about the other direction? Yes, no matter which direction Yushin's ninjas go to support, the other line of defense can't be held. Isn't it useless? Bang, bang. Looking at the chaos below, the 3rd generation slammed the table twice. Alright. Stop arguing. It's impossible to send all Uchiha to Yushin. The situation is urgent now. What is your bottom line? At least 500. Otherwise, the clan members will definitely not agree. The Uchiha clan leader thought about it, looked up at the 3rd generation, and said that this was his bottom line. Otherwise they would not feel at ease if there were too many people sent to the 3rd generation. Okay. The 3rd generation agreed without hesitation, and then he turned to look at the others. We Hyuga can send 7 people. Sorry. The Hyuga clan leader was not in a hurry, and he apologized to everyone after he finished speaking. Old fox. Everyone else cursed in their hearts. There are still more than 100 branch families in your clan, but the main family has not made any move. Last time, they said that those branch families must protect the safety of the main family and cannot be sent out. The Sunday didn't care about Hinata's little thoughts and continued to look at the others. In the end, everyone gathered together 1,000 ninjas, and together with 1,000 civilian ninjas, decided that Yuta and the Sunday would lead 1,000 people respectively, to support the front line. Considering the situation of the two lines of defense, the Sunday went to support the direction of the Land of Earth, and Yuta went to support the direction of the Land of Lightning. They set off the next day. After all, the military situation was urgent. I forgot to add an update for Wukai and Shao yesterday, and I will make up for it now. Thank you for your support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 58, Expedition. After returning home, Yushin told Zizi about the current war situation and the village's decision. Then be careful, I'll go pack for you, don't forget your things. Although she was worried about her husband's safety, the current situation was serious. Yushin had not been to the front line since the war broke out, and many people had complained about it. In order not to let Yushin worry about the family, Zizi acted very calm. Yushin looked at Zizi who was helping him pack his luggage, and his heart was full of reluctance. That day, Yushin told Meruta and the others to be obedient at home, and asked Mito to help take care of the house. After all, Zizi was not able to move around conveniently now. Long John went to the logistics, and his wife had to take care of the restaurant, so he could only ask Mito. The next morning, Yushin stood at the door of the house, stood quietly outside the door for a moment, and then turned and left. Zizi, who was seeing him off, was already in tears. Yushin, be safe. At the gate of Konoha village, after the third Hokage's impassioned speech, the team heading to the front line for support set off. War. Kid, why do you think there is a war? Yuda looked at the army of ninjas behind him, and asked Hyuga Hisashi beside him. This time, when going to Unakuni for support, the third generation also gave Yuda several Hyuga clan ninjas as a reconnaissance team. Although Hyuga Hisashi was only 7 years old, he was also the son of the clan leader. But the Hyuga clan sent him out to show that they were really at the end of their rope. As the eldest son, Hyuga Hayashi, his twin brother, stayed in Konoha because he was the heir to the clan leader. Yuda also liked this little guy very much. He was conscientious and responsible along the way. As long as he still had chakra, he would open his Byakugan to observe the surroundings. In order to protect his safety, Yuda kept him by his side. Hearing Yuda's question, Hisashi turned his head and lowered his head to think for a while. This may be the fate of becoming a ninja, just like me. Looking at Hisashi with a depressed face, Yuda knew that he felt unfair about his fate. Just because he was born a few minutes late, he would be engraved as a bird in a cage. Not only him, but also his descendants. Their fates would be controlled by the main family and they would become tools that could be sacrificed at any time. Yuta smiled slightly after hearing his words. Kid, don't be so gloomy at such a young age. War. It's a redistribution of interests, and the winner takes all. So you have to survive, because victory will eventually belong to Konoha. Hisashi stopped and stood there thinking for a while, then raised his head and looked at Yuta with expectation. Really? If the war is won, I can also take back my own destiny. Of course. Yuta was very firm. He planned to accept Hisashi as his disciple after the war. On the one hand, he liked Niji in the original work more, and didn't want him to die so aggrievedly. On the other hand, he could use this opportunity to establish a relationship with the Hyuga clan. Yushin thought carefully. The next generation of Konoha's top strongmen, such as the 3 ninjas, Hatake Tsukumo, and Might Day, were all his friends. The next generation, Minato, Naoki, Uchiha Makoto, Nono, and Hisashi, these future backbone forces also became his disciples or students. It turns out that I have woven such a large network of relationships in Konoha without realizing it. Senju, Uchiha, and the future Hyuga. These are all old-fashioned ninja clans in Konoha, and they will have contact with him now, or in the future. As long as he has a relationship with these students, then Yushin will naturally be classified as their faction. I have become a conservative. Yushin suddenly realized. Isn't it true? These three clans are all famous families in the early days of the village. Compared with the Sarutobi clan of the third generation, Danzo Shimura clan and the families of the two advisors, aren't they conservative forces? As for the Ino, Shika, and Chao clans and the Aburame clan, they are all neutral factions. They will listen to whoever is in power. Yushin shook his head and smiled bitterly. The Yushin family has not been established yet, but it has aged prematurely. Suddenly, Yuta's face changed, and he gestured to the troops to be careful. The others saw this, and secretly became alert, but they didn't show much abnormality, and continued to move forward at their original speed. Hayashi, follow me. Be careful later. Hayashi also discovered the abnormality through his Byakugan, and knew that he was not strong enough, so he slowed down and gradually returned to Yuta's back. Boom. A large number of detonating tags were detonated in the middle of the road, and the violent explosion quickly engulfed the figures of Yuta and his team. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A large number of ninjas suddenly appeared around the team. From their appearance and forehead guards, it was clear that they were the ambush troops of the Cloud Ninjas. Haha. What Konoha Silver Fox? We killed them all at once. The leading Cloud Ninja laughed triumphantly after finding that Yuta and his team were engulfed by the explosion. Go. Destroy them. He waved his hand, obviously not taking the Konoha troops seriously. It's really dangerous. We were almost killed. Suddenly, a teasing voice came from not far from the explosion. Bang, bang, bang. The figures engulfed by the explosion turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared. Shadow clone. Damn it. The Cloud Ninjas knew that Konoha's troops had already discovered them and were prepared. Even if the sneak attack failed, these Cloud Ninjas were not panicked at all. In the previous battle with Konoha's troops in the Land of Hot Water, they had always beaten Konoha's troops wildly, so even if the sneak attack failed, the Cloud Ninjas did not take it to heart. Under the command of the ninjas of various clans, the Konoha troops had begun to form a formation and began to counterattack. For a while, the two sides were in a stalemate. Yuda found that the Cloud Ninja ambush troops also had 500 to 600 people, and their morale was very high. Even if Konoha had the advantage in numbers, it would be difficult to defeat the opponent for a while. Yuda had to go to support as soon as possible, otherwise his troops would suffer huge losses before they even reached the battlefield. Are you ready to die here? Yuda's tone was very cold, and he obviously had murderous intent. The commander of the Cloud Ninjas laughed. What an arrogant kid. At this time, two more ninjas appeared behind the leader of the Cloud Ninjas. From the first impression, Yuda knew that these two ninjas had the strength of elite Jonins, plus the Cloud Ninja commander with the strength of a quasi-shadow. This way, this table. Both sides thought at the same time. Swish. A silver light was released. A Cloud Ninja covered his throat. A large amount of blood spurted out of his mouth and slowly collapsed to the ground. Lightning style, lightning armor. Seeing that Yushin had dealt with an elite Jonin on his side in an instant, the leader of the Cloud Ninja did not dare to be careless and directly used his own secret technique. He quickly formed seals with both hands, and in an instant, a layer of solid armor was attached to his body. If you feel it carefully, you can find that there is lightning attached to the armor. Wind style. Rasengan Yushin has no time to waste with him. He must go to the main battlefield as soon as possible and cannot waste too much time here. Chapter 59. Quick decision. Buzz. The chakra ball with wind attribute was thrown by Yushin. Lightning release. Pseudo darkness. A flash of lightning quickly broke through the void and collided directly with the Rasengan. But the wind chakra, puff. The lightning disappeared and the Rasengan rushed towards the leader of the Cloud Ninja without slowing down. Swish. Another Cloud Ninja took the opportunity to swing his knife at Yushin. Don't get in the way. Yushin drew out the short knife at his waist, resisted the attack of the Cloud Ninja, and then kicked directly. Bang. The huge force penetrated directly into the body of the Cloud Ninja. Crack. A big hole sank in the chest of the Cloud Ninja, and it was unknown how many ribs were broken. He was kicked by Yushin and flew more than 10 meters in the air. He lay on the ground with his head tilted, and he was no longer alive. Boom. The leader of the Cloud Ninja finally blocked the Rasengan thrown by Yushin, turned around and found that all his companions were dead, leaving only him. At this time, he also put away his contempt for Yushin, stared at Yushin with a serious look, and did not dare to attack easily. He believed that, as long as he could hold Yushin back, then as long as the remaining Kumo ninjas dealt with their opponents, then as long as everyone rushed forward, even if Yushin was made of iron, they would be able to wear him down. Yushin looked at the Kumo ninja leader who was in a defensive posture, and naturally knew his plan. But the situation was urgent. He wanted to wear down, but Yushin didn't. Yushin quietly used the electromagnetic escape that he had just learned, but in order to save chakra, he did not use the electromagnetic escape attack ninjutsu, but used the electromagnetic escape to control the nearby electromagnetic field, allowing the nearby electromagnetic force to flow into his body. Suddenly, the Kumo ninja leader found that his chakra consumption was much greater, and at the same time, the chakra recovery speed also slowed down. Yushin raised his right hand and pointed his hand at the Kumo ninja leader. Thunder escape. Chidori sharp spear. What? Before he could react, a long sword formed by lightning appeared in front of him in an instant, and the thunder god armor was pierced in an instant, as if it were nothing. Zizizi. The leader of the Cloud Ninja looked down at the lightning that pierced his heart. At this time, there were still some tiny sparks on his chest. Then he looked up blankly at the expressionless Yushin. So fast. Plop. The strong body of the Cloud Ninja leader fell straight to the ground, and there was a big burnt hole in his chest. Yushin checked the Cloud Ninja on the ground and found that they were all dead, so he turned and walked towards the main battlefield. At this time, Konoha's troops were still in a stalemate with the Cloud Ninja troops. The sound of bang bang clang, clang of kunai ninja swords colliding spread throughout the venue, and from time to time there were one or two screams of pain. There were still many ninja corpses lying on the ground. Don't think that when ninjas fight, they are all flying ninjutsu. Those are situations that only happen in battles at the level of Jonin. Especially on large battlefields. Even Jonin dare not waste their chakra at will. Everyone fights with physical skills. Only those ninjas who can make the final decision will squander their chakra on the battlefield. In order to prevent his own casualties from increasing, Yushin shouted, "Retreat." The Konoha ninjas were already familiar with Yushin's voice. After hearing the order, they quickly forced their opponents to retreat and hurriedly retreated. The Cloud Ninjas were stunned by the sudden shout and were killed by a wave of counterattacks from the Konoha ninjas. The Cloud Ninjas saw their opponents retreating, and combined with the shout just now, they also realized that something was wrong. But it was too late. Earth escape, landslide. Yushin punched the ground, and the soil on the ground instantly turned into sand, and then these sands rolled up and rushed towards the Cloud Ninjas like a tsunami. It's too exaggerated. Yes. The captain is really reliable. Fortunately, the clan leader won us over to Captain Yushin's command. Otherwise the loss this time would be great. The ninjas of the Uchiha clan were stunned by the scene before their eyes, not to mention the civilian ninjas. You're kidding. This is the power that humans can exert. How strong must the legendary first generation be who pacified the troubled times? Long live Lord Yuda. People with little culture can only shout this sentence to express their amazement. Quick. Block it. The Cloud Ninjas didn't care about fighting with the ninjas of Konoha at this time. Faced with such a large scale and powerful ninjutsu, they quickly formed a formation and released a combination of ninjutsu to resist. No one dared to be distracted at this time, because after seeing the caster, they knew that their mission had failed. The leader and the other two leaders were no match for Yuta, so how could they destroy Konoha's reinforcement? Now they just want to survive. If they can't escape at that time, they just need to surrender. I believe Konoha will not dare to risk the world's disapproval and kill them all. What's more, the third generation of Hokage of Konoha is the famous Wenzang in the ninja world, famous for his benevolence and righteousness. Lightning escape. Double stream critical strike. Lightning escape. Earth walk. Lightning escape. All of a sudden, the Cloud Ninjas used ninjutsu to resist the oncoming sand sea. Boom. The sand waves more than 10 meters high collided with the ninjutsu of hundreds of cloud ninjas. Although Thunder was good at earth, facing the sand sea carrying huge energy, most of the cloud ninjas were still buried under the sand sea. Boom. The sand waves dispersed not far from the Konoha troops and slowly stabilized. Earth escape, mountain earth technique. Before the cloud ninjas who had escaped by chance could breathe a sigh of relief, Yuta's chilling voice sounded again from not far away. On both sides of the sand sea, the ground quickly bulged and formed flat mountains on both sides, which quickly closed in the middle. Damn it. Stop. We surrender. Seeing that Yuta was going to kill them all, and even the cloud ninjas buried under the sand sea were not spared, one of the cloud ninjas shouted unwillingly, "It's too late to surrender now." Yuda ignored the surrender of the cloud ninja. On the one hand, he had few people on his side, so how could he spare more to guard them? On the other hand, Yuda knew that, since the cloud ninja could send a large number of people to ambush them in the line of fire, it meant that the situation on the front line was already very serious for Konoha. Bringing these prisoners would affect their speed of march, and they had no time to delay. Blame it on this damn war. Yuda launched ninjutsu mercilessly. Boom. The two hills closed tightly together. The few cloud ninjas who had escaped by chance looked at the blood oozing from the cracks in the mountains with lifeless eyes. They couldn't believe that their companions who had been chatting and laughing with them not long ago were all dead. "You will go to hell." One of the surviving ninjas gritted his teeth and glared at Yuda angrily. "Yamanaka, go search his memory. We need intelligence from the front line." "Ah. Yes. Lord Yushin." The ninja of the Yamanaka clan who was suddenly called by Yushin was startled and quickly replied after he came to his senses, "You devil. You will go to hell." Seeing that Yunan who was taken away was still clamoring, Yushin looked at Yamanaka who was about to step forward to search his memory. The memory of the dead should be searchable, right? Yes. As long as the head is not damaged, it's okay. Is that so? Yushin said in a low voice, and suddenly his figure flashed, leaving a series of silver light. When he appeared again, the remaining few cloud ninjas looked at him blankly and fell down helplessly. "Leave it to you. Search their memories as soon as possible. The others clean up the battlefield. Give each cloud ninja found a finishing blow. Be careful that they pretend to be dead and counterattack." "Yes, Lord Yushin." At this time, these ninjas looked at Yushin with respect. "Please vote, collect, and read. Thank you all for your support." Chapter 60 Frontline. Lord Yuda, the reason why the Cloud Ninja army appeared here this time is because the Raikage is personally leading the team to attack our defense line. Elder Yan and his men are trying their best to resist and have no time to take care of the entire border line, so the Cloud Ninja took advantage of the opportunity to enter. Yamanaka searched the memory of the Cloud Ninja and came to report to Yuda. "Then we don't have time to delay. Order the troops to set off quickly after cleaning the battlefield. There is no time to rest." Yuda looked deeply at the border of the land of hot springs, and he seemed to hear the wailing of the Konoha ninja and the rampant laughter of the Cloud Ninja. Yes. After a day of forced march, Yuda finally led the team to the frontline camp on the second day. After a series of inspections, all the support troops were stationed in the camp. Yuda heard the painful wailing and sad sobbing of the wounded all over the camp and knew that the situation here was worse than he had imagined. After arranging for the team to rest, Yuda was taken to the tent of the advisor Mitamanyan. "Yushin, you've worked hard. Fortunately, you're here this time, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous." Mitamanyan saw him coming in and hurried forward to pull him to sit on a chair and personally gave him a cup of tea. Obviously, he already knew that Yushin and his team had been attacked, and he was very scared after hearing the news. If his negligence caused huge losses to the reinforcement, he would only be an idle elder in Konoha in the future. In that case, it would be better for him, who is now the third in command of Konoha, to die in battle. It can be said that Yushin not only saved the reinforcement this time, but also saved his political career. So when he saw Yushin, he seemed very enthusiastic. Yushin didn't care about his thoughts at this time. After arriving at the camp, Yushin now needed to understand the current situation. So Yushin took a sip of tea, indicating that he felt his kindness and accepted his thanks. "Elder Yan, what's the situation now? It seems that the war here is not very ideal." Yushin put down the teacup and looked at Mitaman Yan solemnly. Alas. Mizutama inside, not only is it not ideal, since the third Raikage went to battle in person, we have been beaten back step by step. No one here can stop the Raikage, and because of the continuous defeats, our morale is also very low. So this time, I'm going to ask for help, Yushin-kun. Perhaps because he had something to ask of someone, Mizutama spoke to Yushin politely. Will the Raikage go to battle in person tomorrow? I'm not sure about that. Since they took this opportunity to send the sneak attack troops into the territory of the Land of Fire, the Raikage has never appeared again. Mizutama thought about it, and he was also very confused about this. Yushin chuckled. It seems that the Raikage is very confident about this sneak attack. Oh. Then he will be disappointed this time. Who made him run into our Konoha Silver Fox? Mizutama heard Yushin's explanation, and suddenly realized it, and also gave Yushin a hand. Haha. Elder Yan, you are too kind. Be prepared. That Raikage is not a generous person. As soon as we appear on the battlefield tomorrow, he will know that his plan has failed. With his temper, it would be strange if he doesn't come out in person to avenge those cloud ninjas. Yeah, that guy is as strong as a monster. How about it? Are you sure about tomorrow? Hearing Mitaman Yan's question, Yushin cursed in his heart. Waste. He is still testing me now. He is really good at internal fighting, but not external fighting. But Yushin is not afraid of him now. Since he can barely use electromagnetic escape, he can be fearless of everything. Before, he was afraid that if he was beaten up by the third generation and the whole Konoha ninjas, he would not be a match. But now Yushin has the confidence to overturn the table completely. But now is wartime, not the time to start internal strife. Wait until the war is over to settle accounts with them. Yushin nodded calmly, with a confident look. Leave the Raikage to me. Tomorrow, Elder Yan just needs to command the large force to hold back the other cloud ninjas. Seeing Yushin's confident look, Mizutama Yan chuckled. Then I'll wait and see. I've long admired Yushin-kun's style. Looking at Mizutama Yan with a fake smile on his face, Yushin also thought of his past self. No wonder those experienced ninjas were unwilling to get close to him at that time. This look really made people angry. Don't worry. I will never let the Raikage attack our large force. Yushin left Mizutama Yan's tent with a lot of worries and went to the logistics hospital without stopping. Although Yushin and his team had eliminated hundreds of cloud ninjas on the way here, due to a series of failures during this period, the number advantage of Konoha's troops is not very large now, not to mention that the morale of the frontline troops is low. There will definitely be a big battle with the cloud ninjas tomorrow, so Yushin needs to ensure Konoha's manpower as much as possible. Although he is not a professional medical ninja, Yushin's medical ninjutsu is no less than that of Zizi, so he has to provide emergency treatment to those ninjas who were seriously injured before. After all, the war will not end in a short time. If one more ninja can be saved now, Konoha will have more strength in the future. When he arrived at the hospital, the pungent smell of disinfectant was everywhere. Yushin took a break outside and walked in. He looked around and found that it was very chaotic inside. Because there were too many wounded, some of them lay directly on the ground waiting for treatment. The medical ninjas were also very busy, applying medicine to this one, and pushing the wounded into the operating room. Who is the person in charge here? Yushin planned to tidy up first, otherwise it would be too inefficient if they were busy like this. A ninja in his 40s was treating a wounded person. Hearing Yushin's question, he looked up. After treating the wounded, he gave some instructions and then walked over. Master Yushin, Master Tenzin is in the operating room. You can tell me anything. Since some wounded from the reinforcement were also sent here, Yushin's great deeds on the way here were also known to the whole camp. So when he saw Yushin, his attitude was respectful. First, separate the light and heavy wounded. Arrange beds for the seriously wounded. When Dr. Tenzin comes out, the light wounded will be handed over to you. I will take care of the seriously wounded. Should we wait a little longer? Dr. Tenzin is not here, and I don't have the right to do so. At first, he thought Yushin came here to visit the wounded from the reinforcement, so in order to show his role in front of Yushin, he could exaggerate his rights. Who knew that Yushin asked them to adjust the beds of the wounded as soon as he came here, which made him embarrassed. You know, the treatment of civilian wounded and those ninja wounded is different. No matter how seriously injured the ninjas from the ninja clan are, they must be given priority in arranging beds. As for the civilian ninjas, as long as they are not like Jiraiya or Orochimaru, no matter how serious their injuries are, if there are no beds, they can only lie on the ground and wait. Now Yuta asked him to adjust the beds, which would offend those ninjas from the ninja clan. I will get up in the middle of the night, after leaving the construction site tomorrow. If there are any mistakes or omissions, please point them out, and I will find time to correct them. Chapter 61 Before the War. Yushin looked at the man who was hesitating, and knew that he was a guy who was good at scheming. Although he didn't hate this kind of person, he would try to have less dealings with him in the future, otherwise he would be killed by him at any time in the future. After making a judgment in his heart, Yushin acted like a business person. You just need to notify them. Before I came, the Hokage gave me the highest authority in this camp. Here is the document, take a look. As he said that, Yushin took out the order given to him by the third generation when he came. It said that after Yushin arrived at the front line, he had the highest authority in this camp, and Yushin could make the final decision on all matters. This was another reason why Mitokado Yan was polite to him when they first met. Otherwise, no matter how strong Yushin was, in the eyes of politicians like Mitokado Yan, he was just a more useful tool, so why would he be so enthusiastic about him? Even though he was very grateful to Yushin for saving the reinforcement, if there was no order from the third generation, he would arrange Yushin as he wanted. After the ninja took the document and read it, he immediately held the document in both hands and returned it to Yushin. Yes, I will arrange it right away. Seeing that Yushin had the highest power, he became passionate again. Yushin waved his hand. Go down and arrange it. Seeing that Yushin was unwilling to pay attention to him, he also knew that he had just boasted and was seen by Yushin. So he didn't dare to stay in front of Yushin for long and went down to carry out Yushin's arrangements. Yushin was not idle either. He walked to a seriously injured person and saw that the wounded man on the ground had a pale face and a hole in his stomach. Fortunately, he was not injured in the vital parts and was still breathing. He could not delay anymore. Yushin directly used the earth escape technique to make a simple operating table under him and immediately began to treat him. At this time, except for the nurse who went to adjust the bed, everyone else came to help Yushin. As the seriously injured were treated by Yushin one by one, the eyes of the people in the tent looked at Yushin differently. Before, they all knew that Yushin led the team to wipe out the sneak attack troops of the Cloud Ninja. They thought he was just a powerful ninja. Now they found that Yushin's medical skills were also very superb, and they admired him even more. This is why the third generation has been reluctant to send him to the battlefield, because only the strong are recognized on the battlefield. Once Yushin goes to the battlefield, with his ability, his reputation will not be suppressed. This is indeed the case. When Yushin finished treating the last seriously injured person, the entire logistics hospital cheered long live Yushin. Listening to the cheers in the camp, Mitamanyan sat at his desk and pondered for a moment, and finally could only sigh. Now he really dared not use other means to deal with Yushin. If it was at another time, it would be fine. If he dared to hold Yushin back at this time, the first one who would not forgive him would be the third generation. Because Yushin cannot be sent to the front line unless the situation is extremely critical. This is the consensus between them. Now that Yushin has arrived at the front line, it means that it is time for a last resort. If he tripped up Yushin at this time, it would mean that he had no overall view, disregarded the interests of the village, and only wanted to fight for power and eliminate dissidents. So he could not do anything at this time, and had to fully cooperate with Yushin to defend this line of defense. That night, at the front camp of the Cloud Ninja. What? You said that our attacking force was wiped out, and no ninja survived. In the Raikage's tent, hearing the report from his spies, the Raikage asked in disbelief. Yes. After receiving the order, I immediately went to the ambush site to investigate, and found that the terrain there had changed dramatically. In addition to the bodies of several ambushing troops, a hill appeared there. I sneaked under the hill to investigate, and found that the nearby troops were all trapped under the hill, and there was no survivor. Bang! The Raikage kicked over the desk in front of him, stood up and walked back and forth in the tent. How dare they? Damn Konoha, and the damn Konoha Silver Fox, they all deserve to die. The Raikage was so angry that he didn't know what to say and could only curse Konoha while walking. His light yellow hair moved without wind, and with his dark face and lush beard, he looked like a demon asking for his life. Notify the troops to launch a full-scale attack on Konoha's defense line tomorrow. Since they dared to kill the Cloud Ninja, I will make them pay back tenfold and 100-fold. Yes. The next day, just after dawn, the whole camp became solemn again. At this time, Yushin and Mitomanen sat opposite each other in the military tent, with a map in front of them. Yushin pointed and drew on the map, and told Mitomanen, in my opinion, what we should think about now is not how to hold the defense line, but to take advantage of the reckless advance of the Cloud Ninja this time, to launch a victorious counter-attack against the Cloud Ninja. Because we have been defeated by the Cloud Ninja several times before, everyone's morale is not high, so we need a victory to boost everyone's morale again. As Yushin spoke, Mitomanen's face also turned slightly red. There was no way. Who made Yushin say that all these were caused by his men? Although there was a reason for the gap in strength, his strategy and tactics were actually a little worse than the Cloud Ninja. He didn't say a word at this time, just listen to Yushin's arrangement. As long as Elder Yan takes the opportunity to launch a surprise attack from behind the Cloud Ninja, after I defeat the Raikage, he will definitely make the Cloud Ninja suffer a big loss. After Yushin finished his plan, he found that Mitomanen looked at him in disbelief. You are really full of confidence. Mizuto Kadoen thought to himself, but still asked worriedly, all this is only possible if you defeat the Raikage. Yuta, tell me honestly, how confident are you that Konoha can't withstand another defeat? If your plan succeeds, everyone will be happy. If it fails, there will be no power in the entire northeastern border of the Land of Fire that can stop the Cloud Ninja. Seeing Mizuto Kadoen's worried look, Yuta said solemnly, I'm not joking about that. Although the third Raikage is known to be able to fight the tailed beasts alone, I have also developed extraordinary abilities recently. This is a good opportunity to test it out. Elder Yan, please don't make a fuss at that time. Besides, do we have any other way out? Mizuto Kadoen lowered his head and thought for a while. You are right, we can only fight today. And with the reinforcement you brought, we have the advantage in numbers. As long as you deal with the Raikage, we should be able to win. Yuta had said this, and Mizuto Kadoen couldn't raise a different opinion. Today's battle was bound to be fierce. Please support. Thank you. Chapter 62. The third Raikage. The Konoha camp started to get busy early in the morning. There was a tense atmosphere in the air, and the ninjas gathered quickly. Let's go. With Yushin's order, most of the ninjas in the Konoha camp followed Yushin to the battlefield. The other part of the ninjas, led by Mitomanen, disappeared. The border of the fire country in early spring was bleak, and the buds on the branches were crushed by the ninjas who jumped over before they could bloom. Because the war was about to begin, there was a bloody smell in the air. Around the Konoha ninja army, the parasitic bugs of the Aburame clan were hovering, and the ninjas of the Hyuga clan were also using the Byakugan to observe the surroundings. Lord Yushin. A large number of Cloud Ninjas were found not far ahead. Hayashi discovered through the Byakugan that a large number of Cloud Ninjas were advancing quickly here, and immediately reported to Yushin. Notify the troops to prepare, and the sensing ninjas immediately confirm whether there are any ambushes around. Yushin ordered. Because he will fight the Raikage later, Yushin must ensure his own condition, so the reconnaissance task was handed over to the sensing ninjas. After some investigation by the perception ninja, Yushin made sure that there was no ambush around, and then he led the army to continue moving forward. How is it? Are you scared? Yushin asked Hisashi beside him. Hisashi is also smart. As soon as the Cloud Ninja troops appeared last time, he used the advantage of his Byakugan to find a place to hide. He did not come out from a corner until the ambush of the Cloud Ninja was completely eliminated. It seems that he is not as rigid as other Hyuga. Yushin not only did not blame him for this, but praised him greatly. Because the Hyuga clan mainly relies on physical skills, Hisashi is too small, and it is easy to suffer in close combat with the enemy. Besides, the greatest role of the Hyuga clan is not their combat power, but their reconnaissance ability on the battlefield, so no one says that he is timid. Before coming out this time, Yushin had already told him to save his life first, and he didn't need a combat power like him to fight against the Cloud Ninja. Hisashi shook his head and said a little embarrassedly, "I'm not afraid. I'm just a little nervous. I'm afraid I'll hold everyone back. On the battlefield, one person's strength is really limited. Don't think too much of yourself. When the battle starts, you should hide somewhere, like you did last time, and come out after the battle." Yushin reminded him again with concern. Hisashi scratched his head after hearing this. "Wouldn't that be bad? If someone finds out, they'll laugh at me. I'm afraid I'll have to accept punishment from the tribe when I go back." "You're embarrassed now. Then why did you run away so quickly last time?" Yushin laughed after hearing what Hisashi said. Hisashi was embarrassed by his laughter and could only explain dryly, "It was not the first time I encountered that kind of situation. By the time I recovered and came out again, the battle was over." "Okay. Don't worry, the enemy is coming. You go to the back. Remember, stay steady and don't act recklessly." After waving his hand to drive Hisashi away, Yushin looked up at the smoke and dust approaching in the distance. He was no longer casual just now, and his face was solemn as he waited for the upcoming collision. "Silver Fox of Konoha, come out and die." When the two sides were still 100 meters apart, an angry shout came from the Cloud Ninja team. "Is this the third Raikage?" Yushin looked at the strong man leading the Cloud Ninja team and confirmed his identity. At this time, the Raikage also saw Yushin at the front of the Konoha team. "Are you the Silver Fox of Konoha?" The Raikage looked at Yushin not far away, raised his right hand, and the Cloud Ninja team stopped advancing. He came to the middle of the battlefield alone and asked Yushin. Looking at the angry Raikage and the high-spirited Cloud Ninja behind him, Yushin instantly made a judgment that he could not delay this battle. Konoha's troops might not be the opponent of the Cloud Ninja. Yushin took a few steps forward and said proudly, "That's right." At this time on the battlefield, Yushin showed a completely different demeanor from before. He stared at the Raikage with a look of fighting spirit, without any retreat. "Very good, then you will die. Attack." After hearing Yushin's admission, the Raikage immediately ordered an attack, and he rushed towards Yushin. "Kill. Kill all the Konoha ninjas. Lord Raikage will win." Hearing the Raikage's order to attack, the battlefield, which had been quiet just now, quickly became boiling, and the Cloud Ninja troops rushed towards the Konoha troops on the opposite side. Yuda also shouted, "Prepare for defense. Just hold them back." Before he finished speaking, he rushed towards the oncoming Cloud Ninjas. "Gather the formation and prepare for defense." Under the leadership of the captains, the Konoha troops quickly formed a defensive formation, and the Earth Escape ninjas quickly lined up and stood in front of the team, their hands flying. Earth Escape. 10,000 miles of earth flow wall. Boom. The ground in front of the Konoha troops rose rapidly, and a huge defensive fortification made of rocks broke out of the ground like a bamboo shoot. The Konoha ninjas quickly climbed up the fortifications and prepared to meet the attack of the Cloud Ninjas. At this time, the Cloud Ninjas who were rushing in front saw that Yuda was actually attacking their 2,000-man army alone, and they were immediately a little angry. In the meantime, several elite Cloud Ninjas who were rushing in the front raised their ninja swords and blocked Yuda. Before they could say anything, boom. The Raikage was already covered in lightning, passing through them and colliding directly with Yuta. The ground beneath their feet collapsed quickly, and the huge shockwave sent the dust flying into the sky, and the figures of the two were also covered by the dust. "Don't get in the way. He is my opponent. Go over there and attack the main force of Konoha." The few Cloud Ninjas who were trying to stop Yuta looked at Yuta colliding with the Raikage and couldn't help swallowing a few mouthfuls of saliva. Almost. It was almost over. The Konoha Silver Fox could actually block the impact of the Raikage who entered the lightning release mode with his flesh alone. It was ridiculous that they thought Yuta was overestimating his own abilities just now. If the Raikage Sama was a little later, they would have died. Yes. After the Cloud Ninjas came to their senses, they hurriedly replied and together bypassed the dusty area and rushed towards Konoha's defense position. "Sure. Kid, no wonder you and I and the others failed. It seems that we underestimated you." Looking at Yushin who was blocking him with his fist, the Raikage's eyes revealed a strong killing intent. This kid must not be left, otherwise he will become a big problem for the Cloud Ninja in the future. Although Yushin looked very relaxed at this time, he actually sighed in his heart. Although he knew that the third Raikage was very strong, he thought that he should be stronger than the third Raikage after his body was transformed by the beads. Who knew that after this collision, he found that his body hardness was still a little bit worse than that of the Raikage. As the smoke and dust dissipated, Yushin and the Raikage quickly separated. Yushin looked at the Raikage seriously, took out his short sword and disappeared suddenly, and appeared again to the left of the Raikage. Yushin swung his sword, and the cold air brought by the blade made people's scalps numb. Bang! The third Raikage was bathed in lightning, turned his body to the left, and stabbed his palm with 5 fingers together, colliding with Yushin's slash, and blocked Yushin's slash with 5 fingers. Chapter 63, Fierce Battle with the Raikage. Seeing the grinning Raikage, Yushin hurriedly retreated, while holding up 2 fingers on his left hand. Earth style, Earth flow wall. Thunder style, Thunder abuse level. The Raikage made a knife-shaped hand with both hands, and both hands were filled with violent lightning. Boom. The earth flow wall was like paper in front of the Raikage, and was instantly shattered by the Raikage. The dust splashed covered the area again. Swish, swish, swish. The Raikage was very fast in lightning mode. With a kick of his legs, he rushed out of the smoke in a blink of an eye, and rushed straight to Yushin. The Raikage waved his hands full of lightning, and each move went straight to Yushin's vital points. Yushin saw the Raikage pressing forward step by step. His eyes were stern, and his heart was excited. This might be the strongest opponent he had ever met. Yushin held the knife horizontally in front of him, trying to block the Raikage's attack. But, as soon as the blade touched the Raikage's attack, it was vibrated by the huge force and kept wailing. But Yushin also took advantage of this gap. His figure disappeared again, and instantly appeared 5 meters away from the Raikage. He looked at the shinobi sword in his hand, and thought to himself, it seems that ordinary ninja tools are not very effective in front of a strong man like the Raikage. In order to prevent his son's shinobi sword from being broken, Yushin put away the shinobi sword, and planned to have a hand-to-hand fight with the Raikage. The long-lost passion filled Yushin's heart again, but considering the situation of the main force, Yushin did not intend to hide his strength this time, and decided to fight quickly. But, when Yushin released his own momentum, the electromagnetic field also unfolded instantly, and the air around him immediately trembled. Warm-up is over. Next, Mr. Raikage must be careful. Don't die here, otherwise it will be difficult for me. The Raikage is not the previous Cloud Ninjas, who can be killed. If the Raikage dies here, the Cloud Ninja will be leaderless, and will definitely be taken advantage of by other countries. At this time, Konoha was surrounded by enemies on all sides, and there was no extra strength to consider the country of thunder, so the Raikage could not die at this time, otherwise he would make wedding clothes for the country of earth and the country of water. Water country. Yushin suddenly woke up, after thinking of the water country. No wonder that Suzuki and the Raikage came to the front line just after the new year, and the wind country and the rain country also stepped up their offensive against Konoha. I'm afraid these countries have discussed it well, and at the same time, they will increase the pressure on Konoha, so that Konoha will no longer have the strength to support its allies. And the water country, which has been silent since the outbreak of the war, may have sent people to attack the whirlpool country. What a plan. Seeing that Yushin was full of momentum and was going to have a big fight with him, the Raikage was ready to guard, his whole body tensed up, ready to meet Yushin's attack. But seeing that Yushin suddenly stopped and then said something inexplicable. Hearing Yushin's praise, the Raikage was also stunned for a moment, and then he understood what Yushin meant. Haha. As expected of the Silver Fox of Konoha, you figured it out so quickly. But it's too late. I'm afraid that the Whirlpool country has been conquered by the Mist Ninja now. Although he was shocked by Yushin's momentum just now, the Raikage adjusted himself in a blink of an eye and regained his unruly appearance. Then Mr. Raikage must also be prepared for the Cloud Ninjas on this battlefield, to be buried with the Whirlpool country. Although the demise of the Whirlpool country was expected long ago, anyone would be unhappy if they knew that they were being calculated by others. At this time, Yushin was a little angry, and the murderous aura in his tone became heavier. Little brat. It's you who deserves to die, right? Hearing Yushin say that the cloud ninjas here should be buried with the whirlpool country, the Raikage immediately remembered the ambush troops that were slaughtered by Yushin before, and immediately had no intention of delaying with him. He wanted to tear this hateful brat in front of him to pieces. Yushin's speed was faster than his, and it was difficult for him to kill Yushin Yi, so he planned to strengthen his attack power. As long as he could attack Yushin once, he believed that Yushin would be dead. He was very confident in his attack. The third Raikage raised his right arm, stretched it in front of him, slowly bent his little finger, and pressed it with his thumb. The lightning bursting from his fingertips also increased in sharpness. Health thrust, three-pointed hand. Boom. The figure of the Raikage was like lightning, and instantly struck Yushin. Bang. Yushin, who was struck, turned into a cloud of light smoke. Shadow clone. The Raikage was not surprised by this. After a test, the two confronted each other again. He did not despise or carelessly treat Yushin, a speed type ninja. This was what he thought, based on previous intelligence, and Yushin, who had defeated Hanzo, as a ninja of the same level. The momentum of the two made the troops of both sides in the fierce battle not far away feel a little pressure, and the intensity of the battle weakened. The third Raikage, the strongest Raikage in history, is called by the Cloud Ninjas the existence that can fight the Eight Tails alone, claiming to have the strongest shield and the strongest spear. On the other side, as Yushin used his electromagnetic escape, dense arcs flashed in the air around him. The iron sand inside the iron, or buried underground, was also extracted at this time. The iron sand floating in the air was like a black fog that enveloped Yushin and the Raikage. Magnetic escape. No, it's not magnetic escape. Magnetic escape won't affect my chakra operation. Kid, you hid it very deeply. No wonder you are so arrogant. The Raikage was surprised when he saw the iron sand floating on the ground. He thought it was the same magnetic escape blood boundary as the third Kazakage, but when he tried to strengthen his chakra armor to resist, he found that his chakra was more difficult to operate. This also made the Raikage more convinced that he must kill Yushin here today, otherwise his strange blood boundary would be too restraining for the Cloud Ninja. The eyes of the two collided in the air. The Raikage wanted to get rid of Yushin, and Yushin just wanted to use the third Raikage to test his electromagnetic escape. In order to avoid affecting other ninjas, the two quickly moved away from the battlefield in front of them. Under the gaze of the ninjas from both sides, they disappeared into the woods not far away. After running for 1 or 2 kilometers, the two stopped at the same time. As soon as he stood still, Yushin raised his fist and instinctively used his supernatural power. Because of electromagnetic deprivation, Yushin was immune to lightning at this time, so he didn't have to worry about being paralyzed by lightning. The Raikage could only see that Yushin left a white track in the void. He knew that it was not the trace left by Yushin's movement, but his speed was too fast, and his visual nerves could no longer act, showing a residual image that stayed in the last second. The third generation Raikage kicked his feet and chopped up 3 fingers to meet Yushin's fist. The terrifying lightning chakra was suppressed at his fingertips, as if it had formed a substantial blade. Boom. Yushin's fist came into contact with the Raikage's substantial lightning blade, and a clearly visible lightning arc exploded in an instant. Yushin's eyes flashed, and the power in his hands increased instantly. Electromagnetic jet. That's right, Yushin used the principle of electromagnetic jet to directly increase his strength. The Raikage was caught off guard by the huge power that suddenly surged out of Yushin, and was directly lifted into the air. Automatically sent. People are moving bricks at the construction site. Seeking support. Chapter 64. Not an easy battle. Seeing that his attack had worked, Yushin would definitely not give up this opportunity. Electromagnetic jet. A flash of lightning flashed under Yushin's feet, and the whole person rushed straight to the Raikage in the air like an arrow. Bang. Puff. The Raikage was unable to dodge in the air, and was hit hard in the abdomen by Yushin's punch. He spit out a mouthful of blood, and glided more than 10 meters in the air. Bang. A deep pit was smashed into the ground by the huge impact of the Raikage. Yushin fell to the ground, and looked at the Raikage at the bottom of the pit vigilantly. The Raikage was lying on his back with his forelegs in the air. Huff. Huff. He took a few deep breaths of cold air, to relieve the pain in his body. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed. Haha. It's so satisfying. I haven't felt hurt for a long time. Kid, you are good. I recognize you, so please die here. Zizzy. The Raikid swelled up all his chakra, and violent lightning covered his whole body. He supported himself with his hands, and slowly stood up. Then he slightly tilted his body, stretched out his right hand, and clenched his fist. Next, let me show you the strongest spear. You should feel honored to die under this move. Suddenly, the index finger of the Raikid is straightened, fist extended, and violent lightning quickly gathered at the tip of the index finger, emitting a terrifying electric light. Lightning release. Health rust 1 point hand. A flash of lightning seemed to move in space and instantly arrived in front of Yushin. Electromagnetic release. Iron wall. Yushin was always on guard against his sneak attack when the Raikid stood up. After seeing the Raikid's opening move, he quickly took defensive measures. The iron sand in the air instantly condensed into an iron wall in front of Yushin before the Raikid attacked him. Boom. Looking at the finger that penetrated the iron wall, Yushin's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Although he had paid enough attention to the Raikid, he realized now that he still underestimated him. Boom. The Raikid exerted force again, and the iron wall turned into iron sand again and scattered. I thought that, no matter how strong the Raikid's attack was, it would not be possible to break through the iron wall's defense. However, looking at the iron sand that filled the surroundings, Yushin forced himself to move half a step to the left, and with his excellent reaction, he narrowly avoided the Raikid's attack. Although the Raikid's linear acceleration was very fast, he lacked flexibility. After his attack failed, he could not stop immediately, leaving Yushin with his back. Yushin would not miss this opportunity. He drew out his short knife. Electromagnetic vibration. Buzz. The short knife burst, and the blade vibrated rapidly until it disappeared from people's sight. Because the vibration frequency was too fast, the sound emitted also became ultrasonic. At first glance, it seemed that Yushin was only holding a knife handle in his hand. Electromagnetic ejection. Yushin wanted to take advantage of the Raikid's defense to hit the Raikid hard, so he directly launched the electromagnetic ejection again. Yushin appeared behind the Raikid in a blink of an eye, and the short knife in his hand slashed at his back fiercely. The Raikid also knew that Yushin had already launched an attack from behind him at this time, but under the huge inertia, he could not take effective defensive measures. Although this defect has no effect when fighting ordinary people, it becomes a fatal defect when fighting against a speed-type opponent like Yushin. He only felt that the lightning armor on his back was torn apart in an instant, and then a burning pain spread throughout his body. The third Raikid froze in place for a moment, and then the whole person flew forward. His back had become a bloody mess, and a large piece of flesh was missing. It hurts. After flying a few meters, the third Raikid stabilized his body again, turned his body suddenly, and felt the pain in his back. Even if his will was strong, he couldn't help but cry out in pain. Yushin's knife just now was a little difficult for him to resist. Fortunately, the inertia of moving forward buffered Yushin's attack, otherwise he would have been split in two. Even electromagnetic vibration doesn't work. You are worthy of being the third Raikid. Your defense is really abnormal. Yushin looked at the Raikid who didn't lose much combat power, and he had to admire his strength. If this trick didn't work, in that case, let's try this trick. Yushin spoke slowly, then put away the short sword, stretched his arms forward, and opened his hands in a bowl shape. A frightening arc of electricity jumped in his palm, and the iron sand that filled the surroundings gathered into iron balls the size of marbles, which danced with the electric light in Yushin's palm. The violent chakra in Yushin's body suddenly flowed and poured into his palms. At this time, the arc of electricity in Yushin's palm became more active. With Yushin's excellent chakra control, those iron balls also stopped beating, suspended in his palm and rotated, with electric lights jumping on them like blue elves. Electromagnetic gun. Not good. The third Raikid's face changed, and his sixth sense in his heart also warned him frantically, can't block it. You'll die if you take it head on. He could sense the energy contained in these iron balls with electric arcs, which had reached a terrifying level, and even he instinctively felt the danger. The third Raikid did not hesitate, and bent another finger, rushed towards Yushin, and stabbed Yushin's chest with both hands, trying to stop Yushin. A blue light flashed, and the iron ball with huge kinetic energy rushed towards the Raikid at lightning speed. Bang! The iron ball and the Raikage's attack collided with each other, and the huge energy was instantly released, and the whole world was left with only a vast expanse of white. This is the strongest single attack that Yushin can use now. Because it is estimated that the movement will be very large, he has not tried it completely before, but only confirmed its feasibility. When the white light dissipated, the figure of the Raikage also appeared in front of Yushin. At this time, the Raikage was half squatting on the ground, his body was covered with blood, and his entire right arm was hanging beside his body. His left hand was supporting his weak right hand, and he looked up at Yushin not far away. What? Do you want to continue? Yushin was also panting at this time. Although he had undergone a long-term transformation of the beads, and had a lot more chakra in his body than ordinary ninjas, the electromagnetic escape was eliminated by blood after all, and it consumed a lot of chakra when used. Haven't you seen the third generation Suzuki Jinoki? Every time he released his dust escape, it would take a long time before he could release it again, and after releasing it, he would also breathe heavily and look exhausted. The murderous look of the Raikage staring at Yushin did not diminish, but became stronger and stronger. He lowered his head to look at his right hand, which had been shattered, gritted his teeth, and suddenly exerted force with his left hand. Swish! The entire right arm was torn off by the Raikage. The Raikage was sweating profusely, and endured the severe pain, using the thunder escape to stop the bleeding on his right shoulder. Watching the series of actions of the Raikage, Yushin couldn't help but complain in his heart, what a ruthless man. But he didn't have time to watch the Raikage's performance. He raised the little chakra in his body, and was about to deal with the Raikage who was already at the end of his strength. Suddenly, a middle-aged Cloud Ninja appeared in front of the Raikage, and protected him behind him. The Cloud Ninja looked at Yushin, grinned, and suddenly slapped his hand towards his danshin. A huge chakra with a hateful aura quickly surged out of him. People are at the construction site, and the update continues automatically. Ask for support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 65. One-time Jinchuriki. Yushin looked at the carefree Cloud Ninja in front of the Raikage, and understood his plan. As a failed Jinchuriki, he was about to be unable to suppress the 8 tails in his body. He only had one chance to release it, and then he would be drained of vitality and die. So he had been mentally prepared for death. This time was also his last contribution to the Cloud Ninja. But it just so happened that Yushin didn't have much chakra left, so he would lead him to the defense line later, and use him to add some fuel to the Cloud Ninja, so that he could take the opportunity to recover. The overflowing chakra formed a tailed beast coat on the Cloud Ninja, and the 5 tails composed of chakra swayed in the wind. Looking at the unconscious subordinate in front of him, the Raikage was stunned for a moment, staring at the Cloud Ninja blankly, and took a deep breath. Thank you for your trouble. Then he didn't care about his injuries, and decisively evacuated the battlefield. He didn't want his subordinate's sacrifice to be in vain. Yushin didn't plan to kill the Raikage now, so he ignored it, and let the Raikage leave. Presumably, in his current state, even if he went to the defense line, he would just be sending himself to death. He looked at the out-of-control Jinchuriki. It seemed that this was the backup plan of the Cloud Ninja. Fortunately, he was not sent to the defense line, otherwise the Cloud Ninja might have invaded the Land of Fire long ago. I think they also want to get a share of the spoils after the fall of the Land of Whirlpools. They are ready to replace the Jinchuriki. Otherwise, I would not send this Cloud Ninja out now. Roar. The roar full of the breath of the beast shook the surroundings. The Cloud Ninja stared at Yuda not far away with a wild look. He lay on the ground with all 4 feet, and made an attacking posture. Swoosh. Yuda did not wait for him to attack and ran directly to the main battlefield, where the 2 sides were fighting. The Cloud Ninja chased Yuda closely. The 2 chased each other at a high speed in the woods. After a distance of 1 or 2 kilometers, Yuda saw the already very tragic battlefield in less than a minute. The Cloud Ninja and Konoha were fighting a tragic battle on the previous defense line. Kill. Kill all the sisses of Konoha. The burly Cloud Ninja shouted. Most of the Cloud Ninjas used chakra to absorb the fortifications of Konoha, trying to climb the top of the wall. Stop it, don't mess up the formation. They can't hold on for long. The Konoha side on the wall was also resisting the attack of the Cloud Ninjas under the command of various captains. Konoha took full advantage of the terrain and attacked the Cloud Ninjas with Kunai, Senbon Shuriken and other hidden weapons from a high position. It's not that the Cloud Ninjas didn't think about destroying this fortification, but the Cloud Ninjas have always practiced thunder body skills and swordsmanship. Ninjutsu type ninjas also have them, but their defense is not high. As long as Konoha finds that the Cloud Ninjas have the intention of using ninjutsu to attack the fortifications, they will use their long-range firepower advantage to bombard the Cloud Ninja ninjutsu troops that have deployed their formations. After several attempts, the Cloud Ninjas not only failed to destroy Konoha's fortifications, but because the ninjutsu troops launched the joint ninjutsu in a dense formation, many were killed by Konoha. Roar. Suddenly a huge roar came, and because the Konoha side was standing high, they first discovered Yuta and the huge monster behind him who were rushing over. Jinchuriki. Damn it. The Cloud Ninja actually sent out their own Jinchuriki. Mizutamanen, who was about to launch an attack from both sides of the Cloud Ninja, saw the monster behind Yuta and recognized it at a glance as one of the two-tailed beasts of the Cloud Ninja, the Eight Tails. But he didn't expect that the Cloud Ninja would actually send it out this time. Looking at the huge body and violent eyes of the Eight Tails, Mizutamanen didn't know whether he should act according to the plan. However, after seeing Yuta's embarrassed figure, he decided to wait and see what happened. If Yuta could escape danger, he would lead the ambush troops to give the Cloud Ninja the last blow. If Yuta died at the hands of the Eight Tails, then, Elder N, why don't you launch an attack? Lord Yuta has already defeated the Raikage. Now is a good time to attack. Hinata Hisashi didn't know why he planned to find a place to hide according to Yuta's instructions, but was soon discovered by the ambush troops led by Mizutamanen, and was called over to observe the battle between the Raikage and Yuta. At this time, he saw Yushin in danger and hurriedly urged him. How dare you? It's not your turn to say what I should do. If you rush up now, how can you deal with that monster? If it causes huge casualties, can you afford the responsibility? Think about how to explain to the village after the war. Coward. Mitokado Yan shouted righteously. Then, Hisashi wanted to persuade him again, but Mitokado Yan waved his hand and interrupted him. Okay, I know what to do. You just continue to observe the situation around you. Remember, I'm the commander here. Yes. Hisashi had no way to deal with Mitokado Yan, and could only watch Yushin run to the back of the Cloud Ninja with worry. At this time, the Cloud Ninja also discovered the changes behind them. They saw that the tailed beasts of their village ran behind them and had lost their minds, so they stopped attacking immediately. Under the command of the battlefield commander, they turned around and dispersed their formations to avoid being wiped out by the Eight Tails mistake. The Eight Tails saw Yushin running around like a fly and began to get annoyed. Because the Jinchuriki had not died at this time, the Eight Tails had not regained its consciousness and could only act on instinct. Yushin was afraid that the Eight Tails would run away halfway, so he teased the Eight Tails while running on the road. So the Eight Tails was full of hatred for Yushin at this time. It saw a group of creatures like Yushin not far from Yushin, thinking that they were in the same group with him. And the accomplice of that annoying human saw that he not only did not run away, but also planned to fight with him. The Eight Tails was not polite either, and opened its big mouth directly, and a tail beast ball was sprayed directly at Yushin. So irritable, Yushin looked back, and found that the Eight Tails was directly attacking him with a big move. He sped up instantly, and the Cloud Ninja in the front felt a flash in front of his eyes, and Yushin disappeared. What? Looking at the tail beast ball rushing over, the terrifying energy inside could be felt from a long distance. The Cloud Ninja standing in the front was pale, and the chakra in the whole body was running, ready to meet the impact of the tail beast ball. Some of them have seen the power of the tail beast ball, and the Raikage blocked it at that time, but the terrifying power is still deeply remembered by them. But this time, the Eight Tails was very annoyed by Yushin. This time, the tail beast ball was released very quickly, and the Cloud Ninja had no time to escape the attack range, so they could only choose to resist. Boom. A huge explosion sounded, and at this time Yushin also climbed onto the top of the wall. Seeing the huge mushroom cloud below, he couldn't help but sigh. The power is really great. The smoke dissipated, and at this time the person in charge of Konoha also ran to Yushin and reported to him the situation of this offensive and defensive battle. Yushin nodded. Now let everyone sit down and prepare for defense. The cloud ninjas below should not fight the Eight Tails head on. You hold them off for a while. As long as the Eight Tails is caught, the battle on the cloud ninja side can be over. Yes. After hearing Yushin's order, the ninja immediately gave the order. Yushin took a breath. He had used electromagnetic escape continuously before, and even with his chakra, he was a little overwhelmed. He had to recover quickly, because ordinary ninjas alone could not stop the Eight Tails for long. He took out a handful of ration pills from his ninja bag, stuffed them into his mouth and chewed them. Although the taste was not very good, he could not care about it at this time. Chapter 66 Eight Tail. When the smoke cleared, the ground was full of dead bodies of cloud ninjas. The Eight Tails fired a tail beast ball, which was too lethal to ordinary ninjas, and they could not resist it with numbers. Retreat. Retreat quickly. Now, since the leader of the cloud ninjas saw Yuta coming back, he guessed that the Raikage might have been defeated. Seeing the Eight Tails Jinchuriki who had lost his mind, he was more certain of his guess. Since they were doomed to fail, they had to conserve their strength now, to avoid too much loss, and give other ninja villages a chance. Taking advantage of the opportunity of the Eight Tails to brew the tail beast ball again, the cloud ninjas quickly evacuated the battlefield, not even caring about the bodies of their companions. The Konoha troops looked at the retreating cloud ninjas and cheered loudly. It was so aggrieved. Since the Raikage came to the front line, they had never defeated the cloud ninjas again. This time they finally repelled the attack of the cloud ninjas. Moreover, judging from the situation, their Lord Yuta had also defeated the Raikage. How could they not be happy? It turns out that we are not unable to defeat the Kumo ninja, but no one has been able to defeat the Raikage before. This is what most of the Konoha ninjas were thinking at this time. Don't be careless. There is a more troublesome guy over there. Yushin saw that everyone was a little too excited and immediately stopped them. Quick. Earth escape ninjas set up defenses, and the others sit down to support and prepare, ready to attack at any time. Following the command of each captain, the Konoha troops immediately stopped cheering and quickly prepared to meet the attack of the Eight Tails according to the arrangements of each captain. Earth escape, positive transformation. This was Konoha's backhand that was originally intended to resist the Raikage, but it had never been used. But now that Yushin has defeated the Raikage, it is just right to use it to resist the Eight Tails. They believe that, as long as they can delay until Yushin recovers, then a small Eight Tails will be no problem. As a large number of ninjas bit their fingers and pressed on the blueprint, a semicircular mountain range quickly formed between them and the Eight Tails. Boom. At this time, the second tail beast ball of the Eight Tails hit the mountain range fiercely, and the Konoha ninjas saw that a large piece of soil rose from the back of the mountain range, and a huge mushroom cloud followed. It was a close call. If we had been hit head on, there would be only a few troops left here. Someone sighed at this time. See, if we had just rushed out like that, how could you resist such a powerful ninjutsu? Mizuto Kadoen was also shocked by the power of the tail beast ball. Although he had always heard that the tail beasts were powerful, he had never seen them with his own eyes. After seeing the power of the tail beasts this time, he admired the strength of the first generation and Uchiha Madara even more in his heart, and at the same time he was also very scared. The Eight Tails was already so powerful, so wouldn't the third generation Raikage who could fight it alone be even more powerful? Fortunately, I didn't fight the Raikage directly before, otherwise wouldn't my death be very unfair? Mizuto Kadoen wiped the cold sweat from his head and was very scared. Bang, bang, bang. Seeing that his attack was blocked, the Eight Tails took a big step and rushed to the top of the mountain. Standing on the top of the mountain, the Eight Tails roared to the sky and its thick tail slapped the ground. It's almost time. Otherwise, if the Jinchuriki dies soon, the Eight Tails will also be reborn. With the help of the beads, Yushin's chakra has recovered more than half. Looking at the roaring Eight Tails and the ninjas who have lost their fighting spirit, he decided not to wait. Back off. Yushin shouted. The The ninjas on the wall cheered when they saw Yushin recover. They thought they would have to resist for a while and were ready to sacrifice. Fortunately, Lord Yushin did not let them down and said they would resist for a while. Yushin jumped off the wall and appeared under the Eight Tails in a few flashes. The Eight Tails also had a question mark on his face at this time. What's wrong with this little guy? Apart from the two fools, Hashirama and the third Reikage, this was the first human who dared to rush towards him alone. But even if he was puzzled, the Eight Tails was not polite. He directly raised his titails and attacked Yushin from both sides. Boom. Yushin dodged the attack of the Eight Tails in an instant. The attack of the Eight Tails missed, leaving two intersecting large pits on the ground. At this time, he had already rushed to the attack position. Electromagnetic escape, accelerated strange force. Boom. Yushin jumped up directly and hit the chin of the Eight Tails in a circle. Ugh. The Eight Tails head was hit by Yushin's attack and it stopped working for a while. How could this guy be stronger than that fool from the land of lightning? It hurts. The Jinkriki completely lost consciousness, but the Eight Tails' consciousness began to recover. Hit by Yushin's heavy punch, the Eight Tails couldn't help but scream in pain. Then he found that his whole body was lifted off the ground and fell backwards. Boom. The huge body of the Eight Tails hit the ground, raising a large amount of dust. How could it be? Everyone who saw this was shocked. Just now, they were all frightened by the power of the two-tailed beast balls of the Eight Tails, thinking that this was simply not something that humans could resist. As for the first Hokage, Madara, and the third Reikage, they automatically expelled the three of them from the human class. Damn it. Has he grown to this point? It seems that I have to change my attitude towards him in the future. Even if I can't make friends with him, I must not offend him. Mitaman Yan was also frightened by the power of Yushin's attack. He decided to draw a clear line with Danzo in dealing with Yushin in the future. He didn't think that Danzo and his roots would be Yushin's opponents now. Thinking of this, he suddenly realized that he had not yet launched an attack on the Cloud Ninja according to the plan discussed with Yushin, but it was not good to slap himself in the face. So he waved his hand. Everyone attack, block the retreat of the Cloud Ninja, and leave them here. At this time, he had no choice but to do so. If he still did not move, he would offend Yushin even more. Kill. Revenge for the sacrificed companions. Destroy these barbarians. Their Reikage has been defeated by Lord Yushin. Originally, seeing the strength of the Eight Tails, these ninjas were still hesitant about whether to attack. When they heard that Mitaman Yan just asked them to stop the fleeing soldiers of the Cloud Ninja, they were no longer sleepy. This was a solid military achievement. The Cloud Ninjas had lost their fighting spirit at this point and fled in panic. They were no match for the well-rested Konoha troops, and many of them were killed as soon as they came into contact. Konoha, don't go too far. Just as Mitokado-en was leading the ambushed troops to reap the fruits of victory, an unwilling roar came from behind. The Konoha army, which was in a killing mood at this time, ignored it and continued to chase the fleeing Cloud Ninjas. But Mitokado-en was sweating profusely after hearing the voice. Why did he come back again? Turning around, Mitokado-en found that the Reikage had only one arm left, and blood was still oozing from the broken end, which was obviously caused by the fight with Yuda just now. This chapter should be posted on Sunday, and will be back tomorrow afternoon. Second round of recommendations. Please support. Chapter 67 The Reluctance of the Reikage. Mizuto Kado-en looked at the angry Reikage and began to feel scared, fearing that he would really fight to the death for these Cloud Ninjas. What do you want? Mizuto Kado-en stumbled and asked. Damn it. How could he appear so close to me? He cursed in his heart. Let them stop, and the hidden cloud village withdraw from the land of hot springs. The Reikage looked determined, but he was actually uneasy in his heart, afraid of being rejected. After all, Yuta was not far away. If it weren't for the Eight Tails temporarily holding Yuta back, he was going to submit a letter of surrender to Konoha. If they don't take the opportunity to rescue these defeated Cloud Ninjas now, they will have to pay a greater price after the war. Besides, they can't afford to lose these Cloud Ninjas, otherwise they will just wait for Inoki and the Land of Water to take advantage of their misfortunes. Okay, but the Eight Tails will ask the Reikage to find another opportunity to negotiate with Konoha later. Stop the attack. Mizuto Kado did not hesitate. He was also afraid that the Raikage would destroy him with both jade and stone. The battlefield gradually quieted down. Only the Konoha ninjas gnashed their teeth and looked at the cloud ninjas who had lost their fighting spirit. It was these guys who had caused a large number of their companions to die on the battlefield in recent times. They finally got a chance to beat the fallen dogs, but they could not kill them due to the situation. They were really unwilling to do so. They surrounded the cloud ninjas and waited for Yushin's decision. The Raikage believed that Yushin would not be able to see the situation clearly, so he remained silent and waited for the result from Yushin's side in silence while enduring the severe pain. He knew that the irrational Eight Tails would not be Yushin's opponent and sighed in his heart. It seems that this time there will be a big bleed. The cloud ninjas no longer had the arrogance at the beginning and silently stayed in place waiting for the judgment of fate. Mitokado was not sure that he could stop the crazy Raikage, even though he was half crippled. So the two sides were deadlocked there. Sealing technique, 8 trigram seal. As soon as they regained peace on their side, Yushin's roar came from the other side. They looked up and saw that Yuda took advantage of the moment when the Eight Tails was stunned by the hammer and jumped onto its head. He directly pressed his right hand on its head. The sealing technique covered the Eight Tails body in an instant, and the Eight Tails was instantly sealed back into the Jinkriki's body. However, since the Jinkriki had consumed a lot of vitality before, he was dying at this time. Looking at the Jinkriki who was only one breath left, Yuda reinforced his original seal to slow down the loss of his vitality. Otherwise, if he died now, wouldn't he have worked in vain? Yuda carried the fainted Jinkriki on his shoulders and walked towards Mitomanen and Raikage. Staring at Yuda, the Raikage sighed. It seems that we have to surrender. Looking at the Raikage who hurried over before he had time to treat his injuries, Yuda also sighed in his heart. If the third Hokage could be like the Raikage, he wouldn't have to be so frustrated before. What? Do you want to continue? Yuda looked at the Raikage who was determined to die and was a little confused. Silver Fox of Konoha, you win this time. You can kill or chop them up as you please, but please show mercy to these cloud ninjas. I don't think you Konoha want the land of earth and the land of water to continue to grow. Yuda had no intention of weakening the land of lightning too much now. After this battle, the Raikage was half crippled, and nearly half of the thousands of elite cloud ninjas died. If he continued, he would really be like what the Raikage said, making wedding clothes for others. Yuda waved his hand and said, let them go. Although the ninjas on the Konoha side were unwilling, they still showed their obedience on the battlefield and made way for these cloud ninjas. Looking at his subordinates who survived the disaster, the Raikage looked at Yuda calmly. How do you plan to deal with me and the Eight Tails? Before Yuda could answer, Mitokado on the side spoke first. The Raikage is free to do what he wants, but the Eight Tails still needs to wait for the village's decision. Yuda glanced at Mitokado, who made the decision on his own, and saw him winking at him secretly. After thinking for a while, he finally did not object. Seeing that Yushin did not object, the Raikage nodded at him to express his gratitude. He was a man who could afford to lose. Although Yushin caused huge losses to the Cloud Ninja on the battlefield, if you are not as strong as others, you should not pretend to be a tough guy. The Raikage waved his left hand and said, return to the land of lightning. Yes. Seeing that their boss came alone to save them without fear of danger, these cloud ninjas also regained some morale. As the Raikage left here, they completely withdrew from World War II. It was because of this that the cloud ninjas had time to recover their strength and became the second largest ninja village after Konoha in the future. Watching the desolate back of the cloud ninjas gradually going away under the gaze of Konoha, victory. We won. Great. It's great to be able to go home alive. Mizi, wait for me. Woo woo. The cloud ninjas lost. Uaya, did you see it? The cloud ninjas lost. Lord Yushin is so amazing. He led us to victory as soon as he came. Lord Yushin, I want to marry you. Yushin looked at the excited and incoherent bearded man. Let's skip this part. Master Yuda, we won, didn't we? Hayashi squeezed in front of Yuda with his small and flexible body and asked excitedly. Little brat, I told you we would win. Wait until we get back to take back our own destiny. Yeah. Hayashi nodded excitedly, but was soon squeezed out by others. Yuda looked at the excited crowd, and at this moment, an unprecedented pride filled his chest. Yuda, congratulations. As soon as he returned to the camp, Mitaman Yan sincerely congratulated Yuda. As the highest authority on the front line, Yuda almost helped Konoha defeat the Cloud Ninja by himself. His contribution and strength are obvious to all, and his reputation is different from before. He had decided not to care about Yuda and Danzo's dirty deeds before, so at this time he was really grateful for Yuda's efforts. Congratulations. If Elder Yan hadn't cut off the retreat of the Cloud Ninja at the critical moment, they would not have surrendered so easily. Yuda smiled and nodded at him, and also affirmed Mitaman Yan's contribution to this battle. Although Hayashi had secretly reported to him before, saying that this guy had not taken any action before, but Yushin did not take it to heart. After all, his strength at this time was no longer afraid of any threat. Those rats in the dark would not dare to attack him in the future. As for Danzo, when this war is over, he will be sent to confess in front of the second generation. The summary of this battle is here. You take a look first. If there is no problem, I will report it like this. At this time, Mitaman Yan took out the summary of the battle report of this battle and let Yushin take a look. After all, Yushin was still the highest commander here. These are all decided by Elder Yan, but there is no need to mention the situation of Hayashi. I ordered him to do those things, so he has no merits and no faults. Yushin picked up the battle report and glanced at it. With his current mental strength, he quickly finished reading the battle report. Although there was no difference in general, it mentioned that Hayashi was afraid of the enemy and did not move forward, so don't report it. Okay. Mitaman Yan smiled and nodded. Although he was angry that Hisashi dared to teach him how to do things, he was still happy to give you to this face. In this way, the news about the battle between Kumogakure and Konoha quickly spread in the ninja world. Thank you for your support. Chapter 68 Influence, Part 1. After hearing the news, various forces conducted in-depth investigations and found that Yushin not only defeated the third Raikage one-on-one, but also sealed the Eight Tails. Combined with Yushin's previous capture of the demigod Hanzo, the title of the #1 master in the ninja world has now been pinned on Yushin. The young are really formidable. At the front line of the Land of Grass, the third generation put down Mitokado N and sent someone to deliver the battle report about this battle, and his heart could not calm down for a long time. As a contemporary of the third Raikage, he knew too well the fighting power of that barbarian. Although the ninja school had begun to spread the word that he was the strongest Hokage, he knew that if he faced the Raikage one-on-one, he would only die. But Yushin was able to leave him with one arm, and later sealed the Eight Tails. Now he didn't know what attitude he should take towards Yushin. Forget it, don't think about it. Yuta's strong strength is a good thing for Konoha now. The Sandaime put down his pipe and shouted outside the tent, "Someone, pass this battle report down. We won the battle with the Cloud Ninja, and the Cloud Ninja has admitted defeat." Yes. Anbu suddenly appeared and went out with a battle report. Not far from the third Hokage's camp, a loud shout came from that Tsuchikage's tent. What? The Cloud Ninja admitted defeat and withdrew from the war? Yes. Facing the short Tsuchikage, the Enbu could only continue to kneel on one knee. According to the surviving Cloud Ninja, and combined with the report from our spies in Konoha, the Konoha Silver Fox Yushin defeated the Raikage one-on-one and broke one of the Raikage's arms. Then it was him who sealed the Eight Tails in a very short time, causing the morale of the Cloud Ninja to plummet. In addition, the Konoha Elder Mitaman led his team to launch a surprise attack from behind the Cloud Ninja, completely destroying the Cloud Ninja's hope of breaking out. The Cloud Ninja had no choice but to accept the defeat, and at this time they had retreated to the territory of the Land of Lightning and deployed a large number of troops on the border. Konoha is really a place of outstanding people and talents. Anoki thought of the unruly figure, and the feeling of despair once again enveloped his heart. Okay, I know, go down. He waved his hand and said to the Anbu below, but his rolling eyes showed that he was planning something again. Yes. Hearing Anoki's order, the Enbu breathed a sigh of relief and immediately disappeared. After all, kneeling all the time was very tiring. In the Land of Rain, when the news of the surrender of the Cloud Ninja reached here, Orochimaru excitedly washed his face with his tongue. Electromagnetic escape. Yuda-kun is really well hidden. but he is exposed at this time. Is he ready? It's really exciting. After saying that, he continued to read the battle report. After all, we can't always count on Tsunade and Jiraiya. Damn Yuda, he hid it from us, even though we have such a good relationship with him. It's really too much. Tsunade complained after seeing the specific battle report. I'm not really angry, but I don't understand what's going on with Konoha now. Tsunade, don't be so irritable, okay? I don't think Yuda is hiding it on purpose. Jiraiya happened to be there at this time. Seeing that Tsunade seemed angry, he quickly persuaded her, but his eyes couldn't help but glance at the ups and downs. Tsunade vented her frustration, turned her head, and saw Jiraiya's malicious eyes. Jiraiya, where are you looking? Take my punch. Bang, sizzle. A big hole was torn in the tent in an instant, and Jiraiya flew out from there. Ah. The ninjas in the camp looked at Jiraiya, who was screaming in the air. How many times has this happened? Everyone is used to it. Then they ignored it and turned to continue discussing with their companions about Yuta's victory over the wreckage. Let me tell you, the neighbor of the youngest son of my second brother's wife's aunt went there this time. He was at the scene at the time. Then there was a burst of nonsense. Anyway, for these lower level ninjas, they can live one day at a time. By the time his companions know the truth of the matter, he may not be there. Anyway, now he enjoys the admiring eyes of his companions. The Wind Shadow handed the information in his hand to Ibizo beside him, his face gloomy. Take a look too, tell me what you think. Ibizo picked up the information and looked at it carefully for a while, then said seriously, if the electromagnetic escape of Konoha Silver Fox is in the desert, its power should be greater than that of magnetic escape. I just don't know if it is a bloodline limit or a bloodline elimination. If it is a bloodline elimination, it's okay, but if it is a bloodline limit, it may be troublesome. Oh, what do you mean? The Wind Shadow was a little puzzled by Ibizo's statement at this moment. He also felt that Yuta's electromagnetic escape was more powerful than his magnetic escape, but he was just a little unconvinced in his heart. But how could Ibizo say that the bloodline limit was more troublesome than the bloodline elimination? As everyone knows, although the bloodline elimination is more powerful than the bloodline limit, it cannot be inherited through blood. For example, Anoka's dust escape is passed down from master to apprentice, and it has great requirements for qualifications. But if it is a bloodline limit, it is possible to be inherited through blood, which is the most troublesome. As expected of the wise man of the Sand Ninja, he immediately pointed out the key to the problem. The Kazakage could no longer care about the unhappiness in his heart, and immediately stood up and shouted to the outside of the door, "Someone come." Swoosh. Ananbu half knelt on the ground, lowered his head, and waited for the Kazakage's instructions. Order the spies lurking in Konoha to keep a close eye on Yuta's children and report immediately if there is any abnormality. Yes. Looking at the disappearing Anbu, Ibizo raised his hand, wanting to say something but stopping himself. What's wrong? The Kazakage saw that Ibizo seemed to have something else to say and asked in confusion. The first problem now is not to figure out whether the ability of the Konoha Silver Fox can be inherited, but to find a way to stop him from going to the border of the Wind Country. If he goes there, no one can resist him. In that case, Konoha will directly attack the country, and our rear will be unstable, Ibizo said anxiously. In fact, he also had his own selfish motives. After all, the person in charge there is his sister's family, and those are his relatives. If Yuta goes there, his sister's family will be in danger. Then what can you do? The Kazakage was a little anxious when he heard Ibizo's analysis. If that really happened, they would have no choice but to surrender. Whirlpool Country. As long as the Water Country can completely occupy the Whirlpool Country before Konoha transfers Yuta to the border of the Wind Country, then Konoha's rear will be threatened. They dare not bet whether the Water Country will attack them, so it's time for our spies who were ambushed in the Whirlpool Country to move. The Kazakage thought about it and found that there was really no better way, so he could only nod and agree with Ibizo's suggestion. Seek support. Chapter 69 Influence, Part 2. After Hanzo got the information that Yuta defeated the wreckage, he suddenly felt that his previous decision was hasty. Why did he agree to the opinion of the old fox Ibizo without thinking? Now, let alone seizing the territory of the Land of Fire, Konoha will be thankful that they don't destroy the land of rain. It seems that I have to leave a way out for myself. These big countries are unreliable. Hanzo thought to himself. At the border camp of the land of wind, Chiyo, who had just finished a battle, returned to the camp covered in gunpowder, cursing as she walked. Damn, Hatake Tsukumo is too much. He destroyed 3 of my puppets at once. Then she thought to herself, no. His fighting style is too restraining for puppeteers. I have to remind my son and daughter-in-law to be careful when they meet him. Don't be careless. Back to the big tent, she was about to ask someone to call her son over, and she saw her son running over in a hurry with a scroll. My lord. Urgent information from the wind shadow. Before Chiyo could speak, his son shouted, as soon as he came in. Chiyo was also confused. What important things could happen at this time? Could it be that the whirlpool country was destroyed? Temporarily putting aside the confusion in her mind, she picked up the information and checked the seal. Seeing that the seal was intact, she opened the scroll. After seeing the contents clearly, her face was not good. I thought that Hatake Tsukumo was difficult enough, but who knew that Konoha had another blood boundary that was suspected to be stronger than magnetic escape or a stronger bloodline elimination. Why does the 6 Paths Sage favor Konoha so much? Chiyo has a pessimistic attitude towards this war. Even if it is 1 against 4, Konoha still has spare strength, while they, the Sand Ninja, have already tried their best. Except for a stubborn Funfuku, all other high-level combat forces of the Sand Ninja have been dispatched. Konoha also has the unknown Ninetales Jinchuriki Mito, Yuta's wife Kiko, 2 cage-level strongmen who stay in Konoha, and Anzo, the Dark of the Ninja world, who is hiding somewhere, secretly fanning the flames and sowing discord. For a moment, she even forgot to tell her son to be careful of Hatake Tsukumo, which led to the death of her son and daughter-in-law. The land of whirlpools. Because the Mist Ninja used most of their strength to attack the land of whirlpools, they were the last to know that the Cloud Ninja had surrendered. After listening to the report from his subordinates, the Mizukage walked out of the tent with his hands behind his back, looking at the whirlpool village with smoke rising all around. It was the Mist Ninja attacking the barrier of the whirlpool village, and he fell into deep thought. But when he thought of his companions who died in order to deal with the 3 tails and the 6 tails, the Mizukage shook his head, threw Yuta's figure out of his mind, turned around and ordered the Mist Ninja, tell them to intensify the offensive and take over the land of whirlpools as soon as possible. We don't have time to waste. Yes. The Mizukage looked down at the ground and sighed deeply. After a while, the ninja who had gone to deliver the order came back and shouted excitedly, "Report to Lord Mizukage." For some reason, a gap suddenly appeared in the barrier of the hidden whirlpool village, and our people broke in. After hearing this, the Mizukage immediately understood that other forces must have taken action. But now is not the time to think about these things. His face, which has never changed for thousands of years, is also a little excited at this time, so he immediately ordered the troops. Except for the Uzumaki clan, all other people found must be searched carefully. Let the surface troops block the waters around the whirlpool country and kill on the spot those who forcibly escape from the whirlpool country. As soon as the Mizukage finished speaking, another ninja ran in. "Mizukage-sama. The alert troops found someone escaping from the south of the whirlpool country. Should we chase them? Those group of sand-eating hoodlums will probably get nothing this time. I'm afraid they were discovered when they destroyed the barrier this time. Humph. They deserve it. Forget it. No need to chase them." Yes. Konoha, although the Second World War was going on vigorously at this time, except for the families whose family members were fighting on the front line, the lives of other people were not greatly affected. At the Yuta family, Kushina followed behind Naoki and looked around curiously. "Wow. It's so beautiful." When she saw the artificial lake of the Yuta family, Kushina exclaimed. Naoki said proudly, "Of course, I heard that these are all designed by my master himself." After saying that, he straightened his chest and glanced at Nono who was standing beside him. Since Nono moved to Yuta's house, Naoki and her have had more interactions. After a period of conditioning by Kiko, Nono has become completely different from before. Not only is she much cuter, but her spirit and energy are also getting closer to Kiko. Naoki gradually began to like being with her. As long as he could see her, Naoki felt very happy. So at this time, he was not only sincerely praising his master, but also trying to please Nono. By the way, speaking of the master, everyone has been discussing his victory over the Raikage recently, and ending the war between Konoha and the Cloud Ninja. The master is so amazing. As his disciple, I have to work hard, otherwise I will be laughed at by everyone. Naoki praised Yuta endlessly at this time, and also moved himself closer to Yuta, hoping to win the favor of Nono. Yeah, Master Yuta is amazing. Don't you think so, Miruta? Nono was very happy when Rope Tree praised her father, but because of her good upbringing, she just smiled and said nothing. Kushina was different. She was very grateful to her savior. Although her mother was indifferent to everything in Konoha, she didn't interfere with Kushina's thoughts. TSK. It's okay, Miruta said lightly, but the smug expression made Jiro and Kazuo behind him cover their faces. Can you lower your head when you say this? Minato followed behind them, clenching his fists. Master is amazing. I will definitely work hard to protect everyone in the future. However, when he saw Kushina chattering something to Miruta, his little heart felt annoyed for some reason. Kiko saw everything here clearly. When she saw Rope Tree looking at Nono and Minato looking at Kushina, she felt a sense of emotion in her heart. It's good to be young. Minato's mother, who came to take care of her at this time, saw Minato's embarrassing state and smiled embarrassedly. I'm sorry to embarrass you. TSK. What's the matter? If I hadn't acted earlier, Yuta would have been seduced away by who knows which vixen. Kiko waved her hand nonchalantly. It can only be said that married women are sometimes more tough than men. In the Hokage's office, Danzo was sitting on a seat on the side, staring at the Hokage's seat in a daze. Why? Why hasn't Sarutobi abdicated? Why has Yuta become so powerful? I can't hold on any longer. Teacher. Ever since he received the intelligence from the front line, he has been staring at the seat where the third generation usually works. Until now, he let out a low roar of unwillingness, and the sinister eyes revealed a chilling light, like a poisonous snake, that has been choosing its prey. Seeking support. Sorry for giving me a seat. I had been waiting until after 11:20 and fell asleep unknowingly, an hour late. Chapter 70. The Fall of the Whirlpool Country. When the ninja world had not recovered from the news of the surrender of the Cloud Ninja, another piece of news dropped another bomb on the boiling water of the ninja world, making people even more shocked. The Whirlpool Country has been destroyed. Except for a few high-ranking members of the Sand Ninja, everyone who heard the news did not believe it at first. Then, after hearing the affirmative look of their subordinates, they almost issued similar orders at the same time. Do your best to protect the spies we ambushed in the Whirlpool Country, and ensure their safe return. As a result, the battles on the front battlefield suddenly decreased a lot, and a large number of unidentified people quickly gathered near the Whirlpool Country. However, after they arrived there, they were stopped by the well-prepared Mist Ninja. In the battle on the water, the manpower of various forces really couldn't do anything to the Mist Ninja for a while. Humph. I knew that the Mist Ninja was not so trustworthy. Notify the returning troops to gather in the direction of the water country. I don't believe that they really don't even want their old nest. The Raikage was not surprised to hear that the people he sent to meet were intercepted by the Mist Ninja. It's just that the strength of the Cloud Ninja has been greatly damaged, and this time they can only send the ninjas who stayed in the village before. In order to be sure of success, he not only sent his assistant Tsuchide to lead the team, but also sent a secret letter to Anoki, discussing how to put pressure on the Mist Ninja and force them to withdraw. Anoki was also very annoyed at the Mist Ninja's betrayal at this time. After receiving the secret letter from the Raikage, he immediately sent a large number of troops to gather in the direction of the water country without any hesitation. The Rock Ninja and other ninja villages are different from other ninja villages. They believe that there is strength in numbers. They usually train a large number of lower level ninjas, so they are not worried about not being able to send people at this time. With the order of that Tsuchikage, thousands of rock ninjas gathered densely along the coast of the Land of Earth. After receiving the news, the daimyo of the Land of Water issued 12 gold medals in a row. Just kidding. Anyway, it was very urgent, and asked the Mizukage to lead the troops back to rescue him immediately. The Mizukage was forced to pick up some important scrolls of sealing ninjutsu and hastily withdraw. However, a part of the manpower was left behind to complete the complete occupation of the land of whirlpools. As the Mizukage led his team away, a large number of spies who had been ambushing in the whirlpool country left one after another and were picked up by the people sent by their respective forces. However, what? Killed them all? Not even one was left. The Raikage asked in disbelief. Yes. The Raikage called the Cloud Ninja spies over as soon as they came back. But after listening to his report, he was also shocked by the harshness of the Mist Ninja. It was because the surviving members of the Uzumaki clan hated the Mist Ninja who destroyed their homes and were unwilling to join them that they were ordered by the Mizukage to be slaughtered. Hearing his subordinate's affirmative answer, the Raikage couldn't help but want to rub his chin with his hand, but suddenly remembered that his right hand had been lost and could only sigh. How cruel. Compared with those Mist Ninjas, Yuta, who killed 500 or 600 of their ninjas, was simply a vegetarian monk. So did you get the Uzumaki clan sealing technique? I did. But due to the emergency situation at the time, I could only steal the sealing technique for the tailed beasts in a hurry. The Mist Ninja arrived before I could get the others. He took out a few scrolls from his arms and handed them to the Raikage with both hands. Well, you've worked hard. Although it's a pity that I couldn't bring back the Uzumaki clan. It's not your fault. Go down. You've made a great contribution this time. I'll send someone to announce your reward later. Yes. Thank you, Lord Raikage. The Cloud Ninja spy heard that the Raikage not only didn't blame him for not being able to create a new bloodline for the Cloud Ninja, but also wanted to reward him, and he shouted excitedly, "Okay, these are what you deserve." Looking at the spy who went out, the Raikage shouted to the outside of the door, "Let Dode come over." Yes. A voice came back from outside the door. The Raikage looked at the sealing scroll in his hand and suddenly had a headache again. The sealing technique was there, but the 8 tails was still in Konoha's hands. It seems that we have to negotiate with Konoha as soon as possible. Otherwise the safety of the Land of Lightning cannot be guaranteed by just the 2 tails. Since the Mizukage evacuated from the Land of Whirlpools, the troops of the Cloud and Rock Ninjas gathered at the border have also returned to their respective villages, and Dode has of course returned with them. When he walked into the Raikage's office and saw the scroll on the Raikage's desk, "Did you succeed?" "Yes. I just didn't bring back the people of the Uzumaki clan. The group of Mist Ninjas killed them too ruthlessly, leaving no one behind." Dode sighed. "There's nothing I can do about it. If it were me, I would do the same. After all, if I can't get it, I can't keep it and plant disasters for myself, right? Alas. I just feel a little pity. Now I'm a little jealous of Konoha. Not only did it take in so many people from the Uzumaki clan, but it also didn't take much effort." The Raikage was unwilling to slam the table again, but when he thought about his right hand being gone, he could only sigh. "Then should we?" Dode said hesitantly. "Don't make any unnecessary moves, we just need to watch. With the Konoha Silver Fox in this war, Konoha will most likely be the winner. But Konoha is very strange. As long as there is no opponent, they will fight each other, just like the first generation of Konoha Hokage and Uchiha Madara. I heard that the Konoha Silver Fox is very suspicious of the Konoha high-level officials in Konoha. I think they will fight after the war." Who said that the Raikage is a reckless man? A simple reckless man can't be the position of Raikage. After the analysis of the Raikage, Tsuchida also suppressed this thought. "Then why are you looking for me this time? I want you to go to Konoha and discuss with them the redemption of the 8 tails. After all, the 8 tails was assigned to us by their first generation of Hokage, and I believe they dare not return it. Try to keep the ransom as low as possible. After all, the pension this time is not small." "Okay, I'll prepare it now, but it seems that the Hokage of Konoha is not in the village, right?" Tsuchida was a little puzzled by the Raikage asking him to go to Konoha. "We have to take back the 8 tails as soon as possible while their top brass are away. Otherwise, when they have more people, they will have more ideas. What if someone is so shameless that he doesn't want to give it back?" "Okay, then I'll set off tomorrow. But isn't it a bit inappropriate to do so? After all, according to convention." Tsuchi also hesitated and nodded to agree with the Raikage's analysis. "Alas. Thank you for your hard work this time. If we follow convention, we will have to bleed heavily this time. But even if Sarutobi and the others are not here, the Dark Ninja Realm will not be easy to deal with. Haha. Itsuchi was full of disdain when he heard the Reikage talking about Danzo. He's just a short-sighted guy. Don't worry, he's not difficult to deal with. Then I'll leave it to you. Reikage said solemnly to Itsuchi. The situation in the Land of Earth is basically the same as that in the Land of Lightning, but they are better off. As early as the beginning of the village construction, civilians from the Land of Whirlpools came to them, so although they were surprised by the hotness of the Mist Ninja, they were not too disappointed. But the Land of Wind. Please support. Chapter 71 Storm Breakup. What? You got nothing. Not only did you not bring back any members of the Uzumaki clan, you didn't even steal the sealing technique? Then why did you come back? Feng Ying looked at his own spy in front of him and was so angry that his liver ached. Seeing that the Kazakage was shaking with anger and was about to order a punishment for him, the spy hurriedly explained, Lord Kazakage, listen to my explanation. Didn't you ask us to cooperate with the Mist Ninja's attack before? So we, the spies lurking in the Whirlpool country, attacked the Whirlpool Ninja's barrier troops when the Mist Ninja's attack was frustrated. Who knew that after the other Whirlpool Ninjas found out, they ignored the Mist Ninjas and rushed directly towards us, and we were powerless to do anything. It would have been fine if he didn't explain. Once he explained, the Kazakage got even angrier. Are you a pig? No, you're not a pig. I think you're a spy sent by the Mist Ninja to ambush us and ninjas. I just asked you to take the opportunity to cooperate with the Mist Ninjas. I didn't ask you to be filial to the Mist Ninjas without caring about anything. They get the benefits, but what about us? We spent so much energy and manpower before, not for you to cooperate with the Mist Ninjas. Come on. Take him away and let the interrogation department carefully interrogate him to see if he is a spy sent by the Mist Ninjas. Lord Kazakage, please spare me. Give me another chance. The Kazakage ignored his pleas for mercy and waved his hands impatiently, telling his men to hurry up and stop him from yelling. It was infuriating to watch him. What should we do now? Judging from the actions of the Cloud Ninja and the Rock Ninja, they must have made great gains this time. If we still can't solve the problem of Jinkriki, then in the future, I'm afraid that our Wind Country will only be more and more separated from the other big countries. The Kazakage walked back and forth in the big tent in agitation and asked Ibizo, who was not in a hurry, Lord Kazakage, don't worry. Although Finfuku is old, he can still hold on for a while. Besides, we still have an ally now. They have also deployed spies in the Whirlpool country. I believe they will not return empty-handed like us. Yeah. How could I forget about Hanzo? Now they still need us to help them resist Konoha. I believe they dare not refuse us. The more the Kazakage thought about it, the more he felt that he could give it a try. So he directly abandoned the troops of the Rain Country and let Ibizo take command temporarily. He went to find Hanzo in person and asked him for the benefits that the Rain Ninja had gained in the Whirlpool country. He thought that, since the two sides were allies and his side was in the dominant position, and he had already gone to discuss with him in person, Hanzo would surely not refuse to give him this face. However, things did not develop as he expected. Lord Kazakage, I'm really sorry. Our Rain Country didn't get anything from the Whirlpool country. Really? Our Rain Country is weak, and we didn't arrange many spies in the Whirlpool country before, and they all died when the Mist Ninja attacked, and none of them came back. Feng Ying, you have to believe me. Feng Ying looked at the pig-nosed Hanzo in front of him, wishing he could crush his pig nose with one foot. You, Hanzo with thick eyebrows and big eyes, have actually learned to talk nonsense. Everyone knows that you went to the Whirlpool country with the Mizukage before. If there were no huge temptations of benefits, would you go? In fact, the Wind Shadow guessed correctly. This time, the Whirlpool country was destroyed. The Rain Country may be the country that benefited the most besides Konoha and the Water Country. Not only did they have perception ninjutsu and long-distance communication ninjutsu, but Black Zetsu also took the opportunity to send the Phantom Dragon 9 seals to Hanzo for future layout. After all, according to his plan, it would be better to place the headquarters of the Tailed Beast organization in the Rain Country. On the one hand, the strength of the rain country is not weak, and on the other hand, it is not as eye-catching as other big countries, which makes it convenient for him to continue to hide behind the scenes. However, Hanzo had long recognized the true face of these big countries. He did not intend to give what he got to the wind country, so he started to play dumb. After being beaten several times, he understood that allies were fake, and only the benefits and strength in hand were real. In the end, the meeting between the two sides ended unhappily, and the alliance between the two countries, which was not solid, became more fragile. Ibizo saw that the wind shadow returned empty-handed, so he began to think about the rain country again. Yuta's rise destined the winner of this war to belong to Konoha. In this case, it would be better to take the opportunity to seek some benefits for the wind country. So a large number of sand ninja spies began to move around the hidden rain village, and Hanzo also withdrew a large number of troops from the front line and began to clear the sand ninja spies around the hidden rain village. After a test between the two sides, they knew that the other side no longer trusted the ally, so they simply wanted to take advantage of the other side's lack of reaction and give the other side a surprise attack. Lord Kazakage, the frontline troops were attacked by the rain ninja, and the losses were huge. Just when the Kazakage and Ibizo were still discussing how to attack the rain ninja, Hanzo was ruthless and didn't say much. He rushed up directly and caught the sand ninja off guard. So fast. Sure enough, Hanzo has experience in betraying allies, this villain. The Kazakage didn't expect Hanzo's actions to be so fast, and he was confused for a while. Lord Kazakage, don't panic. Now we must first stabilize the morale of the army. Ibizo persuaded the lost Kazakage inside secretly. I don't know what happened during this period. First, the layout in the whirlpool country failed, so that the sand ninja returned without success. Now it has turned against the rain country again, and it has to face the attack of Konoha. As a result, the Kazakage has been in a bad mood recently, and has not acted as calmly as before. Alas. Forget it. Let's find a way to reduce the losses. Ibizo was also helpless. Who could have thought that Hanzo would take action so quickly? So under Ibizo's suggestion, the Kazakage could only order the troops to retreat to the border near the wind country to reduce the logistical pressure so that some manpower could be freed up to resist the rain ninja. As the rain ninja and the sand ninja completely tore their faces apart, the situation in the rain country changed from Wu and Shu jointly resisting Wei to a three-country melee. Anyway, as long as they were not ninjas on their side, they would have to fight a big battle when they met. For a time, the losses of the three parties suddenly increased. Finally, under the advice of Orochimaru, Konoha temporarily shrank its defense line. On the one hand, it concentrated its strength to reduce losses, and on the other hand, it let the rain ninja and the sand ninja consume each other first. As Konoha shrank, the rain ninja and the sand ninja completely let go, but under Ibizo's insistence, the wind country took a defensive position, and for a while the rain ninja could not do anything to them. Hanzo looked at the fragmented rain country, and was at a loss for a moment. The earth country occupied a small part of the north, the wind country hovered in the southwest, and the southeast was also occupied by the fire country. As for the east, the grass village was destroyed. Otherwise, based on their previous virtues, they might have recognized a godfather, and then used the power of the tiger, to come to the rain country to make a profit. Looking at the situation at this time, Hanzo almost vomited blood. His dream of becoming a great country was shattered just like that! Exclamation mark. Please support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 72, the Uzumaki clan's decision. While the battles on the front lines were in full swing, Konoha was still peaceful. The morning sun first shone on the tall Hokage rock. Just like pressing a switch, Konoha became lively in a short time. The laughter of children, the shouting of vendors, and the scolding of housewives were all loud. But at this time, the atmosphere in the clanland of the Senju clan was extremely heavy. Not only the people of the Uzumaki clan who lived here, but also Mito. Everyone burst into tears after hearing the news of the destruction of the whirlpool country. What made them even more angry was that all their clansmen were killed by the Miss Ninja. From then on, they were rootless people and could only start over in Konoha. They had lived in Konoha for a long time and knew that Konoha was already surrounded by enemies and could not spare the strength to rescue the Whirlpool country. So they didn't have much hatred for Konoha. But for the Miss Ninja, everyone standing here at this time, one by one, hated it. But even if they were angry, they were powerless at this time. They were sent to Konoha because they had no fighting ability. If they wanted to seek revenge, they could only rely on the power of Konoha. Taku looked at Mito, who had a sad face, and opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something. Mito's perception was so strong that after she sensed Taku's expression, she put away the grief in her heart and looked up at Taku, who was hesitant to speak. Mito still cared about Taku, who was now the new leader of the Uzumaki clan. As the only known surviving adult male of the Uzumaki clan, he was automatically promoted. After all, she knew that she would not live long, and how the Uzumaki clan would develop in Konoha in the future would depend on Taku's opinion. Just say whatever you want to say. There are no outsiders here. Taku was a little hesitant at first, but finally he looked at Mito, who was already showing signs of aging, gritted his teeth, and said, I want these adult women of the Uzumaki clan to get married. On the one hand, it will continue the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan, and on the other hand, it will also allow the Uzumaki clan to gain a foothold in Konoha. Mito looked at him with a deep gaze. Those women who were ready to get married, or had been married, also looked up at him, and some of them were obviously moved. Although Mito had not treated them badly during this period, this was not their home after all, and they felt uneasy living here. Mito saw Taku's blushing face, and turned to look at the expressions of those women, and knew that she could not object to this matter. Then she said, you can do whatever you want. If you are willing to stay, the Senju family will not lack you for food. But since you want to get married, you should wait until the war is over. I believe you don't want to become a widow just after getting married. Then she thought for a while and said, if you have children, those who are willing to take them away can take them away. Those who are not willing can stay here. The Senju family will raise them. She looked at the embarrassed looks of those women who were moved and chuckled. Okay. Don't be embarrassed. It is really not easy for the Uzumaki family to continue to be isolated from other ninjas. This is also good. While you are young, give birth to more children to expand the Uzumaki family. It would be great if there were more like Zizi. Hearing her say this, Takuya nodded in agreement. After all, their relatives had just passed away, and it was not easy to arrange for them to get married immediately. It was just right to take this time to slow down. Just when he was about to leave, Mito suddenly asked, have you found a candidate? Takuya was stunned for a moment, then nodded slowly, raised his hand, and pointed to a boy about 6 years old. Mito knew the boy. She was the grandson of the great elder and a mature and steady child. But she immediately asked, are you sure? Why not Kushina? Hearing her question, the niece-in-law, who also understood what she meant, nervously held Kushina's hand and looked at Mito with pleading eyes, worried that if she continued to ask, Taku would change his mind. After all, this is no longer the land of whirlpools. Taku is the new patriarch of the Uzumaki clan. Mito ignored her and just looked directly at Taku. She is not suitable. Although she has better qualifications, she is a girl. Taku answered without hesitation and glanced in the direction of the Yuta family. Mito nodded with satisfaction and waved his hand for him to go down. After the crowd dispersed, Kushina's mother asked Mito anxiously, Aunt, since the choice has been made, why do you mention Kushina? What if Taku changes his mind? Mito patted her hands gently and said meaningfully, don't blame me, an old woman, for being nosy. If I don't ask today, the candidate may change in the future. But since Taku has announced the candidate in front of everyone today, then even for Taku's sake, the high-level officials of Konoha will not change the candidate. Only in this way can I leave with peace of mind. Don't worry, I know what's going on. So Aunt asked this question today and has such a plan. It seems that she still has a lot to learn. She almost thought that Aunt wanted Taku to change his mind and let Kushina become the new Jinchuriki. Kushina's mother felt a little guilty. By the way, what are your plans for the future? Are you not going to find someone to marry? After all, there are only these few people left in the Uzumaki clan. Now it was Kushina's turn to be nervous. She held her mother's hand tightly and looked at her with a worried look. Kushina's mother also felt her daughter's nervousness, gave her a reassuring smile, and then shook her head at Mito. Forget it. Since I heard that the Uzumaki kingdom was destroyed, I have no other ideas. Now I just want to raise Kushina and continue to help my aunt take care of these orphans. Okay, in that case, then I won't persuade you. Just stay here with peace of mind. Then the two talked for a while, and Kushina's mother took Kushina away. Looking at the empty house, Mito's mood suddenly became a little depressed. Gone, all gone. I'm the only one left of my generation. Mito's lonely voice echoed in the empty house. At this time, in the place where the Uzumaki clan lived, Takuai came back and called the grandson of the great elder, the boy who had just pointed out to Mito, into his house. Looking at the somewhat restrained child in front of him, Taku put his hand gently on his head and asked softly, "Enma, are you wondering why I chose you?" Enma shook his head gently and finally nodded. "Why?" Enma asked softly. Taku shook his head and smiled bitterly. "There are not so many whys. I know this is a little unfair to you, but you are a smart child. Think about it. Although Kushina is still a member of the Uzumaki clan, she will get married in the future after all. Only if you become the candidate for the new generation of Jinchuriki, Konoha will spend a lot of resources to train you, and in the future you will be the pillar of the Uzumaki clan. Do you understand?" "Yeah." Enma also felt full of a sense of mission at this time, and nodded firmly. Ask for support. Chapter 73 New Appointment. The surrender of the Land of Lightning and the fall of the Land of Whirlpools, although only a topic of casual chat for ordinary people, is a major event closely related to the relevant parties. For example, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen at this time. After hearing that the Land of Water had completely occupied the Land of Whirlpools, he had been staring at the map for a long time, and the big tent was filled with smoke. Hiruzen, cough 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 cough. As soon as Koharu Utane came in, she was suffocated by the thick smoke in the tent and retreated again. After finally relieving herself, she lifted the door curtain to let the smoke inside dissipate a little, and then walked in again. "Why do you smoke so much? Have you thought about how to arrange for Yuta?" Looking at the third Hokage with a thoughtful face in the tent, Koharu Utane asked directly. The third Hokage turned around, looked at the information on the table, and hesitated. But soon, he looked up and said to Yuta Koharu, "Let him go to the southeast border to defend against the Land of Water." Yuta Koharu was about to stand up to object, but the third Hokage waved his hand. "Don't say anything. The situation is a bit complicated now, and we can't leave a high-level combat force in the village to rot. Have you ever thought about it? What if Yuta goes back to Danzo?" Yuta Koharu seemed to have thought of something and nodded helplessly to agree with the third Hokage's proposal. "Okay. Since you have no objection, I will give Yuta a new appointment." Originally, the appointment of a commander-in-chief had to be discussed and negotiated through a high-level meeting, but now the third Hokage only had one Konoha high-level official, Yuta Koharu, so if the two of them agreed, then the appointment could be passed. Soon, Yuta received a new order, asking him to hand over the command of the Cloud Ninja to Mito Kadoen, and then lead a part of the people to the direction of the Land of Whirlpool to defend against the Land of Water. Ah, what a hard life. But Konoha is the safest place in the ninja world. For the sake of my family, I'd better keep working now. Everything will be better in the future anyway. Yushin felt helpless when he received the new order from Mizuta Manyan. "Congratulations. You can finally lead a place on your own." Mizuta Manyan was also very happy at this time, and the military power was finally back. After a period of getting along, Yushin also found that his attitude towards him had changed a lot. So although Yushin still disliked Mizuta Manyan a little, there was no need to offend him for no reason, not to mention that you shouldn't hit a smiling person, right? Yuta also smiled and congratulated Mitakado N. "Congratulations. Elder N has also become the commander of a faction. I'm afraid we'll have to trouble Elder N for the post-war negotiations with the Cloud Ninja." Mitakado N was immediately embarrassed when he heard what Yuta said. He smiled helplessly and said, "The Cloud Ninja delegation has arrived in Konoha. The negotiations will be handled by Elder Danzo." Yuta was a little surprised. According to convention, shouldn't the Cloud Ninja discuss post-war matters with them? After they have discussed it, they will report it back to the village. The Hokage will convene the top leaders to discuss it and then decide whether to accept it or not. This group of Cloud Ninjas don't play by the rules. Is it the decision of the Hokage? Yuta asked again. No, it was decided by the Cloud Ninja themselves. They didn't inform the Sandai and went directly to the village. The Sandai didn't want to delay it, so he let Elder Danzo take charge. Yuda thought about it for a while and understood the Cloud Ninja's calculations. This time they got a bargain. But the Raikage didn't even care about his face in order to save money. Seeing that Mitokado Yan was still a little confused, Yuda was speechless. Can you become a Hokage advisor with your level? Yuda suddenly felt that he could become a Hokage. Then he quickly threw this idea away. He didn't want to live the life of facing thousands of people's criticism and bowing his head to serve others. Whoever wants to sit in that broken position in the future can sit, as long as it's not the F4 of the Sandai in their generation. Then Yuda patiently explained the Cloud Ninja's calculations to Mitokado Yan and went out to pick someone under Mitokado Yan's complicated eyes. Looking at Yuta's receding back, Mitoman Yan sighed deeply. I hope I won't be implicated in the end, right? He thought of the cause of death of Yuta's parents and was deeply worried about Danzo. But he had already planned to completely ignore their conflicts, as long as it didn't affect him in the end. What? Can't figure it out? Yuta looked at Hisashi, who was still pouting, and asked with some amusement. Well, it was obvious that Yuta defeated the Cloud Ninja. Why was he kicked to the Land of Water in the end? Haha, kid, you are young, but have a lot of thoughts. Remember, being fat first is not fat, but being fat later will crush the bed. Who will have the last laugh? It's still early. Oh. Although Hisashi didn't understand much, he believed that Yuta was the most powerful, so he could only nod in agreement. In this way, Yuta brought 700 ninjas to the pier, where he had been when picking people up before. Looking at the still turbulent sea, and thinking about the whirlpool country that had already disappeared, if the timing was not right, Yushin would have wanted to say something like the waves wash away all heroes. In the next few days, Yushin ordered the troops to set up dozens of outposts every 10 kilometers along this stretch of coastline, monitoring hundreds of kilometers of coastline. Yushin left a macro pyramid full of magnetism under each outpost. As for what it was used for, I think everyone has some guesses. That's right, those macro pyramids are signal towers that allow Yushin to know the specific situation of each outpost through electromagnetic induction. Because Yushin's perception range is only 10 kilometers, there is also an outpost every 10 kilometers, which allows Yushin to know the situation of the entire defense line at any time. However, only Yushin knows this, and he does not intend to expose this ability before solving the problem. Because this ability is still very important for whether you can live comfortably in the future. Got it? Go down. As soon as Yushin and his team established the defense line, the Mist Ninja stationed in the Whirlpool country discovered it and immediately sent the news back to the village. The Mizukage was busy trying to appease the daimyo at this time, so he had no time to care about Konoha's movements. The daimyo was frightened by the Land of Lightning and the Land of Earth before. The Land of Earth even spanned several small countries and had its army right at their doorstep. The Mizukage believed that, based on Konoha's current situation, it would not dare to attack the Mist Ninja of the Land of Whirlpools. The Land of Water was a little full after swallowing the Land of Whirlpools, and it did not intend to continue to provoke Konoha. Time passed slowly as Yuta instructed Hisashi in his training. While Yuta was instructing Hisashi, he also took the opportunity to study the caged bird on his head and found that this thing was a technique that connected the nerves of Yamato's eyes. Although it was not complicated, the part it connected to was too critical. If it was wrong, the eyes would be destroyed and the person would die. However, for Yuta, who had already mastered chakra beyond imagination, it was not difficult to solve this. However, Yuta did not intend to help Hisashi get rid of the caged bird now, as that would offend the Hyuga clan. Wait until the war is over and accept Hisashi as your disciple and help him get rid of the bird in the cage. He is Yuta's disciple, so the Hyuga clan won't really give him this little face, right? Please support. Chapter 74 Quadruplets. Lean your right elbow back, lower your center of gravity, and be prepared for sneak attacks on your weaknesses at any time. Don't stare at the front all the time. You have white eyes. Don't be afraid of sneak attacks. Shake. Keep shaking your body. Don't let your blind spot always face one direction. Listening to Yuta's constant chattering in his ear, his Ashi could only keep hitting, shaking, and turning. If he couldn't beat Yuta, his Ashi really wanted to stuff his mouth with a stinky sock. Ever since Yuta asked everyone to start patrolling normally, his Ashi has been miserable. He was pulled here by Yuta, who was idle, to train, in the name of improving his battlefield survivability. Although the effect is good, anyone who is stared at by a big man every day and keeps whispering in his ear will probably collapse at this time. Hisashi was well educated for being able to endure for a few months. Hisashi, no, it's because I can't beat him. After finally finishing the training, Hisashi was so tired that he lay directly on the ground, gasping for breath, and the sweat on his body left a human-shaped mark on the ground. Okay, that's all for today. We'll continue tomorrow. Yuta clapped his hands and turned around and left the training ground without caring about the exhausted Hisashi. He was not worried that the huge amount of training would ruin Hisashi's body, because as long as he was with Hisashi, he would cover Hisashi with pearl light, constantly repairing the physical damage caused by training. Hisashi was different from his other disciples. As a member of the Hyuga clan, fighting was mainly based on physical skills, which was too demanding on the body. If his physical fitness was not good, he would be sending his head to the enemy on the battlefield. Therefore, Yuta's training volume for Hisashi was much greater than that of other disciples. However, the effect was also obvious. If Hisashi's strength was equivalent to that of a relatively powerful genin when he just left the village, then now his average chunin might not be Hisashi's opponent. I finally survived another day. Although it was certainly gratifying to increase strength, and it was tolerable to train to exhaustion every day, Hisashi couldn't stand Yuta's seemingly incessant mouth. When Yuta was training him, he had already asked him if he was willing to be his disciple after the war. He was naive and agreed without any hesitation. After all, if he became Yushin's disciple, he would have an easier time in the clan in the future. After all, since Yushin defeated the Raikage, he has been called the strongest ninja of the contemporary era. But now, he would have the urge to kill Yushin from time to time. But soon he threw this thought behind his head. If he dared to fight with Yushin, his future master would be the happiest. In fact, Yushin could not be blamed. Counting the days, the next few days would be the days when Kiko was about to give birth. But as Kiko's husband and the father of the child in her belly, he could not be with them. So Yushin has been very irritable recently, and he can only make his future disciple suffer. Quick, bring the hot water in. Mito, who had never left the house, rarely appeared at the door of the delivery room of Yushin's family. Hearing Kiko's screams of pain inside, she urged the nanny at home to bring the hot water in. If it were not for her old age and the increasingly restless nine-tailed fox in her belly, she would have wanted to go in and deliver Kiko herself. Quadruplets. This was the first time she had seen it with her own eyes in her decades of life. Besides, she also wanted to take advantage of her still being here to bring the Senju clan closer to the Yuta clan. Otherwise, with her status, it would be a great honor for the host family to come and take a look. Looking at the 5 anxious kids from the Yuta clan, as well as the worried Naoki and Minato, Mito smiled gently at them. Don't worry, your mother will be fine. Perhaps the children thought Mito was knowledgeable and had seen this kind of situation many times. Anyway, after hearing her comfort, the children felt more at ease. I just don't know how dad is doing now. He wasn't around when mom gave birth to my younger brother and sister. The quiet Yuto suddenly spoke up, looking a little disappointed. After hearing his words, the other children also showed frustrated expressions. Mito knew at a glance that they missed Yuta, but they were embarrassed to say it normally, so they took the opportunity to complain. Your father is a hero. He has helped many parents of children like you to come back and reunite with them. You should be proud of him. After all, Miruta and the other 3 already knew a lot and nodded after listening to Mito's words. But Shingo, who was only 2 years old, looked at Mito stupidly with an expression of I don't understand. Seeing her brother's embarrassing appearance Kayako stepped forward and hit him on the back of his head. Pa. Perhaps it was a conditioned reflex. Shingo quickly shrank his neck when he saw Kayako's raised little hand, but he still couldn't avoid his sister's loving touch. Shingo was not angry after being hit, and he followed Kayako in a sly manner, with an appearance of accepting it. Suddenly, the cry of a baby came from the delivery room, and the people outside all looked at the door of the delivery room, wanting to know what was going on inside. But before the people inside came out, there was another burst of wah-wah crying. Great. I finally have a few brothers and sisters again. Miruta was the first to jump up happily, and then Jiro and the others seemed to be relieved and laughed. Brother, did we cry when we came out? Xingzi may think it's embarrassing for the newcomer to cry as soon as he came out, so she asked his brother. Yeah. What's wrong? Miruta looked confused. Didn't everyone cry when they came here? You're lying. It must be only Shingo who cried. I didn't. Xingzi got anxious when he heard it, and Duanran retorted. As if he was afraid that others would not believe him, he pointed at Shingo and said to others, if you don't believe me, ask Shingo. He came with me. He knows the most. As he said that, he secretly raised his fist to Shingo. Everything my sister said is right. Shingo nodded quickly, looking like he only followed his sister's lead. At this time, Nono came out of the delivery room first. As Kiko's disciple, she was also called in to help at this time. How is it, sister? How many brothers and sisters? It was Miruta who couldn't help but ask first. Nono's parents were also civilians before, and they didn't have their own surnames. Ever since she recognized Yuta and Kiko as her adoptive parents, she also added Yuta's last name to herself, just like Miruta and the others, so it was not surprising that Miruta called her the eldest sister. Nono wiped the sweat from her head. The scene just now also scared her, but as the oldest member of the family besides Kiko, she still insisted on waiting until the master gave birth before coming out. At this time, when she heard Miruta's question, a gentle smile appeared on her face again. 3 brothers and 1 sister. Now the family is more lively. After hearing Nono's answer, Anzi shouted happily, that's great. I finally have a sister to play with me. Behind her, Shingo looked at his excited sister aggrievedly and said cautiously, I also want to play with my sister and sister. Haha. Mito tapped Shingo's little head with his finger after hearing his words and said with a gloating look, Yuta will have a headache in the future. Looking for names for the quadruplets, the author has difficulty naming. Seeking support. Chapter 75 Electromagnetic Instant. A few days after Kiko gave birth to quadruplets, Yuta also received the news. He wanted to fly back to Konoha immediately to see Kiko and his children. No. I have to find a way to go back, otherwise I won't be able to catch up with the children's full moon banquet. Yuta thought, but if he went back, what if the Mizukage had a brain attack and sent people to attack the Land of Fire? There are not many troops deployed here. If he is not there, as long as the Miss Ninja attacks, they will march straight in and wreak havoc in the Land of Fire. At that time, not to mention the 3rd generation, even Tsunade and others will have opinions about him. It seems that I still have to develop a ninjutsu similar to Flying Thunder God, otherwise it will be inconvenient to do anything. It's a pity that I don't have a talent for space. Even if I use my sudden enlightenment to deduce Flying Thunder God to the extreme, it's useless. I can only benefit Minato in the future. Wait. The speed of electromagnetic propagation in the air seems to be not slow, right? I remember it seems to be close to the speed of light. Although he can only use electromagnetic escape on a macro scale now, the speed will definitely be much slower. But it is enough for him. But before that, the protection problem must be solved. It takes a lot of physical strength for a person to move at high speed in the atmosphere, otherwise he would be burned to ashes by the huge friction force as soon as he took off. Electromagnetic shield. Oh, why didn't I think of it before? After having the idea, Yushin began to busy himself with his great cause of returning to the village. Hisashi found that Yushin spent less and less time to supervise his training in person and thought he had done something wrong and disappointed Yushin. He had complained about Yushin before and found him annoying, but Yushin suddenly relaxed with him and he began to feel uncomfortable again. Do I have some strange disease? Why do I miss the days when I was living a life worse than death? Hisashi felt that he was abnormal. However, Hisashi still did not have the courage to ask Yushin, but just trained as usual according to Yushin's previous arrangements. Yushin was with him only when he ate and repaired his body damage by the way. Although there was no opportunity for enlightenment, Yushin's spirit had been transformed by the mysterious beads, and his comprehension was already at the top level of ordinary people. After more than half a month of experimental summary, Yushin finally completed the electromagnetic teleportation. Today, he was going to verify whether it could be successful. However, the experimental subject made him scratch his head. He didn't dare to experiment personally. Fortunately, when he was developing the electromagnetic body flash technique, he also developed multi-person teleportation. After all, the electromagnetic body flash technique was not a space ninjutsu after all. It did not require the caster to move with the teleportation target. As long as the target was covered with an electromagnetic shield and the ninjutsu was directly activated, the teleportation target could be teleported to the destination. As for the location of the destination, since Yushin himself was not teleported, it would rely on the miniature pyramids left by Yushin before. Yushin sealed the whole body of a pig to prevent it from moving around during the teleportation and disrupting the release of the ninjutsu. Then he shouted softly, "Electromagnetic shield." Instantly, a spherical energy field appeared around the pig's body, tightly protecting it inside. Since there was not much air in the energy field, Yushin did not dare to delay, otherwise the pig would suffocate to death. And how could he conduct the experiment? He activated the electromagnetic body flash technique instantly, and the big fat pig immediately disappeared in front of Yushin's eyes. Yushin's eyes could not catch up with the speed of the pig's disappearance. At a post 10 kilometers away from the Yuda experiment, several Konoha ninjas were standing on a high place and carefully observing the situation around them. As the front line of defense against the land of water, it is never too careful. Today's weather is also very good, and the lookout can see the situation in the far distance. Suddenly, a lookout found that the trees in the woods in the distance collapsed. Before he could remind everyone to be careful, he heard a bang and an object instantly smashed a big hole in the wall of the post. What's wrong? What happened? Is it the enemy? The person in charge of this post asked 3 questions after hearing the noise. At this time, the ninjas in this post were cautiously alert and slowly approached the unidentified object. After the electromagnetic teleportation teleports the target to the destination, the electromagnetic shield protecting the target will disappear. The ninjas in this post only saw a black object lying motionless in the center of the first floor of the post and thought it was a trap set by the enemy. It happened that this outpost was close to the base camp where Yushin was, so there was no sensory ninja arranged, and there was no way to know what it was at a safe distance. So they hurriedly sent a second level distress signal without knowing the situation. Kai. Boom. A special firework exploded above the outpost. The sound could be heard clearly by the 2 adjacent outposts. Once the second level distress signal was sent, the 2 adjacent outposts would send people to support. Quick. It's a second level emergency signal. There was an abnormality in the number 2 outpost. Immediately send people to rescue. Others should stay alert to prevent the enemy from making a feint to the east and attacking in the west. Immediately send out the emergency signal and warn other outposts. Yes. Then the emergency signal of the number 3 outpost was also launched. Then the entire line became tense and everyone entered a state of combat readiness to guard against the enemy's surprise attack. At this time, Yushin was still marveling at the speed of the electromagnetic teleportation. Before he could come to his senses, he suddenly heard the distress signal sent by the number 2 outpost. So he was stunned for a moment. It's over. The result of the experiment is still unknown, but I seem to have gotten into trouble. Then Hisashi also ran over in a hurry. Master Yuda. Post number 2 has sent a second level distress signal, requesting instructions. Because of his young age, Hisashi was arranged by Yuda to be his messenger, so that it would be convenient for him to train and guide Hisashi. At this time, Yuda looked at Hisashi with a serious face, and felt a little embarrassed. But then he thought that he was the commander of this line of defense, so what was there to be afraid of? Then he said with a serious face, since the situation is urgent, then I'm fast. I can go alone. Let everyone patrol as usual. What he said was righteous. He didn't want others to know that it was his fault. As the commander, he still had to save face. After that, he didn't care about Hisashi, and he disappeared with a flash. Although Yuda set out a little later than the support troops of post number 3, he was still the first to arrive at post number 2. At this time, a ninja from this outpost was already on guard outside. When he saw Yushin, he immediately ran over and said, "Master Yushin, thank you for your help. Okay. Business is more important. Tell them to lift the alert immediately. I have used chakra to sense that it is not an enemy. It is a pig that destroyed the outpost." Yushin waved his hand and interrupted his polite words. "Now we must first clear up everyone's misunderstanding. Otherwise all the ninjas on the entire defense line will not be at peace today. Please support." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.